those are just extended runs, basically. This guy at the controls, and he's going to throw a wide open Tez Johnson. Tez Johnson heading to the end zone. Touchdown, Oregon. 48 yards.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
They hand it to him. Touchdown! Georgia SEC champions! As every dog digs really deep.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
56-yarder, the win really not a factor. Snap and hold are good. That one is good! At the buzzer! Clemson wins the ACC.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Udo on 2nd and 5, first down and more. Udo might be gone. Race is on. Past the 40-yard line. Inside the 30. Inside the 10. And tripped up inside the 5.
365 Sports is turbocharged by Unite Private Networks. Find out more at uniteprivatenetworks.com.
There's Mr. Contact Balance again. Look at Scattaboo go. Tripped up just inside the 20. What an unbelievable first half by Scattaboo.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
My goodness, another day of greatness in college football, and maybe even some like, man, is it ever going to end? Coaching changes, we'll get to that. A lot of transfer portal news. And we'll have some other college football nuggets as far as topics, discussions, games, and more. I'm David Smoak. To my right, Craig Smoak. And to my left, Paul Catalina, who's back after Amanda got sick of him after him being sick for one day.
Hey, I got to tell you about my wife, the caretaker. I'm really not looking forward to being old. Like, she's not going to be.
Well, am I allowed to ask you what the difference is in time frame here, ages?
Like when I'm, like 80s, like where, everything is a trip to the doctor. Like it's going to be one of those things where when we're in our 80s, we're gonna be like, I guess I got to get my hip replaced. She's like, you're such a baby.
I know.
You and your stupid hip.
Golly.
Like it's going to be scary. I was hoping that, and look, I'll admit, I get a little bit of a babyish when I get that kind of sick. I'm not tough when it comes to that, but she's very hard on me. Like it's probably good for me, but in the moment, it doesn't feel good.
Well, you were sick and you're back. I was kind of under the weather a little bit at the end of last week, and Craig and Paul got me healed because of medicine, and I feel better, although I felt a little wobbly yesterday. Craig Smoak, what is Jake Dickert to Wake Forest? Is there a bigger story than the fact that he's going to be a part of a Power 4 conference? The Pac-12, he was like one of those remaining guys like clinging on to the Titanic as it was falling into the ocean. Your thoughts about this move to Wake Forest?
He wasn't clinging too hard. He jumped right off at the moment that he got an opportunity to do so. My main thoughts in terms of Jake Dickert now being the new head coach at Wake Forest and filling one of the only remaining jobs out there is that I didn't intend to dress exactly like him, besides the red shirt and this graphic, but also that, we talk about the state of college football, and I don't want to make every day oh, my God, is it going to fall apart, and oh, my God, the sport's ending. Like, I feel like there's way too much doomsday stuff that, like, kind of gets advertised, so I don't want to be that guy because I think college football might be different, but it's not going to die. But I have talked about, and we have mentioned plenty of times, the instances where I think you are running away fans or you are tempting fate with fans. I think we're dangerously close to just pushing Washington State fans over the cliff. I mean, entirely. I mean, how could you not be teetering as a college football fan if you root for Washington State right now? After the way the last year has gone, from losing your spot in the quote-unquote power leagues, then being teased with the potential that you might get an invite from somewhere else, even though there was never a whole lot of reason to believe that was the case. It was mostly just shouting that you'd have the opportunity, and that didn't come to fruition. And then you have a season that's not that great, but there was something that was really great about it. His name was John Mateer, and then he decides to leave. And the whole time that's being talked about, you've got the quotes from your head coach and Jake Dickert, who's talking about the efforts that they made. Meanwhile, the whole time, or at least part of the time, at least yesterday, he's talking to Wake Forest and negotiating for that job. And now he's gone. Not to mention all the assistants that you'd already lost. And so now you are replacing basically the heart and soul of your team next year. Maybe not the soul of it. I'm sure there are players on that team that are the heartbeat and that they're just, wazoo guys. But in terms of your coaching and your star power and all of that and your place in the sport, over the last year plus, all of that has been stripped away from you at one point or another, or just outright taken away for good. And I just think it sucks. And I don't know how many more blows that some Wazoo fans can sustain, because I'll tell you right now, I can't relate because my programs that I root for has never gone through a situation like that, because so few have. But I think if I was a Wazoo fan, I'd be looking at college football going like, why am I supposed to care at this point? Like, what is this? Like, what enjoyment am I getting out of this? And I don't want that to happen, but that's the first thing that popped in my mind when I saw this was like, damn, man, how many blows can a fan base take before they can't take any more blows?
I agree with you. And then, like you said, now let me ask you this. With him going to Wake Forest, now Mateer's been in the portal for a day or so, and there were thoughts that Oklahoma would obviously make sense there because of the offensive coordinator. Does this change things?
I mean, it might. I don't know John Mateer's relationship with Jake Dickert. That's one of the first things that probably everybody thought of was, what does this do for John Mateer? And does this potentially veer him off the path to Norman, Oklahoma, or somewhere else for North Carolina? And it very well could, for all I know, but I don't know. I feel like the brand might outweigh the Wake Forest brand a little bit compared to the other ones and the opportunities that he has at those other spots. But, as much as he has a connection to Jake Dickert, he still has one to Ben Arbuckle. So I don't know. I'm not, as an Oklahoma fan, I'm not like getting all like, it's Mateer or bust. I'm not like that point in my life anymore. So if he comes, that's great. If he doesn't, that's fine. They'll find another guy. I think for Wake Forest, it's an interesting hire. Obviously, they got thrown a bit of a loop and had to kind of perform a bit of a late coaching search in some ways, although to their advantage was there's not really like a busy market going on. They didn't have a whole lot of people to compete with. So, I think it's an interesting hire. I am not blown away. I've seen a lot of Wake Forest fans who are just happy for the change, as most people are, when coaching changes occur where the guy's, not leaving you for a better job. But I don't think this is one that like blows the doors off of anybody. He's a good coach. He's not great, and I'm sure he'll be fine at Wake Forest.
Well, he hasn't even, scratched the surface of his career
no,
yet.
He's
really,
so
for us to even assess him. He's done a really good job under really strange circumstances at Wazoo. Although, like, how he got the job, what happened when he had the job, and all of that. So I think Jake Dickert.
Did he replace Rolovich? After the.
So,
okay.
he replaces Rolovich, keeps the job. So not only did he have that weird COVID situation, then, once they get clear of that, it's like, by the way, all the other teams in this conference are leaving except for you and Oregon State. And when you ask, what about us? We're going to say, sorry. So he's been able to navigate that really, really well. And in that, look, they had Cam Ward. They had John Mateer. So the guy knows how to attract and coach up quarterbacks. That's in his DNA, which is good. Now, do I think John Mateer is going to all of a sudden go to Wake Forest? Probably not, because I think he would be sacrificing some of that, money, because Wake Forest, look, Dave Clawson's not doing this job anymore, in large part to the fact that it was just kind of a grind on him at this point in his career where, look, I've got this really cool offense that we run, really unique. We've proven we can win at Wake Forest. And then all of a sudden, the price of players goes up, and Wake Forest is like, well, we can contribute a little bit, but if Notre Dame wants to come and get Sam Hartman, there's nothing we can do to stop them. So I would think that would maybe slow John Mateer down there. Now, look, if he wants to just go play for Jake Dickert, he can go play for Jake Dickert and make a little money. But I still think that he's going to be at an OU, a Miami, or somewhere on that level as far as NIL goes. But I do like, look, if you're jumping in the ACC right now, it's the time to be in the ACC. Look, Clemson isn't as – well, nobody's as scary as they were. Clemson's still really good, but they're not scary. Florida State is going to be up and down. North Carolina's North Carolina. Bill Belichick or no. I mean, who else
Miami, you still sometimes can't quite trust them. And then SMU might be the one that seems like it's the most stable.
Well, I mean, look,
but you never
Miami
know.
right now is back in the same position they were a year ago, where they've got a lot of other parts that work, but they've got to get better on defense, and Cam Ward's leaving. So they've got to replace a lot. So it's everything in college football is a one-year hitch right now. So if you can go and win the conference, you get the right schedule, it's a one-year hitch.
You're right about 1 year, because a lot of the guys that have been entering and then also committing or signing in the portal, you keep looking at they have 1 year left. 1 year left. Do you want to go to a couple other coaching notes or look back at Memphis and West Virginia last night?
Let's do the coaching
portal?
notes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sam Houston State, Phil Longo. He was there before. He's back. A heck of a list of young candidates, including Matthew Pallage at Baylor, Rashawn Samples at Oregon, and obviously even Sean Bell at Houston. So he is now the head coach at Sam Houston State. Their program has been really good. They went through the attrition to get up to FBS, and then Casey Keeler did a great job with them. Moves on. He now moves to Temple, and Phil Longo, he's been around. He one time direct messaged me on something when it came to football. We'll have him on at some point. Good hire, I think, here for Sam Houston State. I was hoping that Pallage, Samples, or Sean would get the opportunity because we know them pretty well, but Longo is the man.
Well, look, if I had to rank who's going to get the head coach job fastest out of those, I think Rashad Samples is coming. It's coming for him. And he has the luxury of maybe saying, okay, this wasn't the best fit for me, if that's the case, or if Sam Houston, I don't know. They picked Phil Longo, which I think is a great hire. He's an offensive genius. He knows the Texas landscape when it comes to quarterbacks. Look, when he got the job at North Carolina, when he got the job at Wisconsin, what's the first thing he did was he's trying to get some guys out of Texas to come and run his offense because it's got Texas roots to it. So if I'm Phil Longo wanting to be a head coach, Sam Houston State in the spot they are right now with the commitment they're making, moving up to the FBS, moving up to playing big boy college football as much as they can. I think it's a great hire for them, and I think Phil Longo will navigate it really well.
I think it's a good hire. I mean, first-time head coach, so that'll be interesting to see. But I think with anybody that they were going to be choosing from, I think most of those guys were all first-time head coaches. So that was kind of the gimmick of the pool that they were searching from, and that's probably going to be the case a lot of times now for a school like a Sam Houston. Is you're going to try to get the younger guy or the guy who's not been a head coach versus the long-established guy, because that guy's probably going to be up at a different level or at a different place in his career than wanting to hit up Huntsville. But that's a really good program. They've had sustained success. Casey Keeler did a really good job there and obviously left on a high note. They can get talent. They are really well equipped in terms of resources. I mean, they're not obviously one of the traditional schools, but I think they've proven in a short amount of time they don't mess around. They're a serious program that wins and is committed to football. So I think whatever they chose in terms of their next head coach and the names that you mentioned, it was going to be really interesting to see who it was and what that brought to the table. So Phil Longo's that guy. I would have been more interest piqued if it had been a Rashad Samples or one of the other guys that you mentioned. But I think this is a nice, solid hire, and we'll see what he does with this opportunity now at nearly 60 years old to be a head coach for the first time. So that'll be cool to see how that all works out for Sam Houston.
He looks like a drill sergeant. He looks like an absolute drill sergeant. UNLV offensive coordinator Barry Odoms at Purdue. He will join us on the show tomorrow. Brennan Marion at Sacramento State. There were a couple of different jobs that were open, and Marion at Sacramento State.
Yeah, and I guess with Longo, real quick, he was at LaSalle in the early 2000s. He did coach there for a couple of years. So first head coaching job in 20-plus years, but only his second head coaching job. So, yeah, I looked over LaSalle there, but that couple of years notwithstanding, he's pretty much a fresh head coach. With Brennan Marion, talk about fresh head coaches and guys whose stars are rising and guys who you figure are going to be in the coaching conversation for a really long time, whether in the pros or the college level. Brennan Marion fits that to a T. I think you hear about that go-go offense quite a bit over these last few years. You know, his time at Texas, had a successful stint there, and has been very much buzzed about as one of the better young coaches out there with one of the more unique and fresh offenses out there. So I think people have been waiting for Brennan Marion to get his shot, and he'll get his shot here at Sacramento State. And I am fascinated to see what he's able to do with it and how he's able to get the ball rolling, what that looks like, because he'll have a fresh playground to kind of prove himself to a different degree as running his own program. And I think if that's successful, especially quickly, then we will see him moving somewhere else very quickly, and he's a guy who you just kind of have pegged for being somebody who's going to be jumping up over these next few years. So this is a nice launching pad for him in some ways.
Well, look, he's got a university that's committed money to the football program. Like, they are going all out for it. And I think Norfolk State, great job hiring Michael Vick. I think, you know, to get the kind of attention they're going to need that they want, I think that's a great hire. I think while it would have been a really good hire for Sacramento State, the fact that they are trying to move up a level, I'd rather have somebody who knows how to play the game of being a college coach a little bit more. And Marion is certainly that guy. And he was a lot of people's radar as an OC candidate at the Power 5 level. Now I think they're Power 4 level. I think now he's going to be, you know, on people's radar the next job he gets as a head coach at those levels if he does a good job at Sacramento State. And if I'm taking a new job, I'm certainly thrilled to take one with a university who's like, hey, this is the time to be here because this is the time we're trying to move up.
Yeah, the stadium, the facilities, the money, the input.
NIL that they've invested in. So
which that's not quite what it's cracked up to be. I mean, that's not like I know how that was reported, and then it was reported on further. The whole they had this big war chest. That's not quite what it appeared to be. As a little bit of funhouse mirror stuff, but they do have a commitment to football, let's say that. But they don't have like $50 million in NIL laying around like it was kind of floating around there yesterday, or $20 million or whatever. That wasn't quite what you thought it was maybe at first glance. But point standing is that they are very much going full force with their football program as much as possible and trying to, you know, soar as high as they can as quickly as they can. And so I think hiring a guy like Brennan Marion is a great way to keep up that momentum and to get this thing off the ground to a different degree and build some excitement for sure.
All right, and then we will have plenty of portal discussion. Our first guest will be at 3:40, Taylor McCarg of CBS and ESPN college football analyst. We'll have Jeff Traylor just after 4. And one of our favorite guests as well, not only just Jeff and Taylor, but Cole Kublik from ESPN and the SEC Network. He'll join us today, and then Zach Gelb at 5. So I get home. I had to go to looking for a suit to try to wear this weekend, and I get home, and I had my television on from when I had left to do the show. And I look up, and Memphis is like pretty much in control of the game with West Virginia, and I watched pretty much a lot of it. I saw the long run by Garrett Green. Memphis is one of those teams that kind of has a Big 12 type feel to it. And of course, they have been on the radar before. 42-37. Hennigan, the quarterback who's from Denton Ryan for Memphis. And then Garrett Green had some explosive plays too. C.J. Donaldson, a couple of fumbles. Tough loss for West Virginia. I thought they were going to get blown out. In the end, it was one hell of a football game, as Rich Rod, of course, was also doing an interview or two on the television broadcast.
Yeah, I know that, you know what, I saw a lot of nostalgic feelings for Garrett Green and what could have been from a lot of West Virginia fans last night because of his athleticism. This was not the season for him. He's a senior, so I don't know if he's coming. Like, I didn't watch.
He's not coming back.
He's not coming back. He's done. So he's done, and he's top 10 all time. I think there's a lot of that of like what could have been with Garrett Green. I think there's going to be a lot of that with C.J. Donaldson as well because he'll be gone and on to the next level. But good for Memphis. Seth Hennigan also going to be moving on, and he was probably. I mean, I don't want to knock any of the other great Memphis quarterbacks of the day if you're a Memphis fan, but I think he's probably their number one all time when it comes to numbers in a lot of regards. So he was great for them and really a steady Eddie, a player that, look, last night 18 of 26, 294, 2 touchdowns, and was a leader for that team. So, bummer for West Virginia they didn't win, but good on Memphis for taking the opportunity and showing out.
Yeah, Seth Hennigan had a great career, and he is Memphis's leader in a lot of different categories, and that was mentioned throughout the broadcast last night. And also mentioned was the fact that I tried to catch it immediately, and I didn't have the ability to go back and listen to it, but I want to say that he was the only quarterback in Power 4, and I don't know, it could be even broader. It could be like all of college football, but they had a stat about how he's the only quarterback in Power 4 to start 4 straight years at the same school. Mm-hmm. Seth Hennigan. I mean, and think about it. Who else has played 4 years? And like I said, I don't know the exact details of it. It was like FBS, FCS. I just said that at the beginning. I don't know how broad it goes. But the point of the stat was that he was like one of the only, if not the only player in at least the Power 4 that had played and started 4 years at the same school, which is an awesome thing to mention about somebody. It's also like, wow, that's really sad. Like, that's really sad that he's the only guy or one of like 2 or whatever it was. But it was a very interesting tidbit that they had, and I started thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. He's been around for forever, and he's set a bunch of program records because he's been around and played so much. And so you look everywhere else, and guys are leaving in 3 years, or they're leaving after 1 or 2. And so the 4-year starting quarterback is basically an endangered species, and he was one of, if not the only one, still rolling around this year. So hats off to Seth Hennigan for his loyalty. He could have left after what was a really good year last year, and he stayed, and he completed what he started there at Memphis, and that's, to the individual. Some guys, that's how it works out best. For him, that's how it worked out best. He probably could have gone and made some other money somewhere else, but maybe he wouldn't have played as well, and maybe he didn't close his career on as much of a high note as he was able to last night. So I just think he's a cool, unique character in what is otherwise kind of all the calamity and craziness. So shout out, salute to Seth Hennigan on a tremendous career. He definitely could have taken his ball and gone somewhere else for more money, but he wrote it out with Memphis, and now he's going to be their leader in a lot of categories moving forward. But he's a great player. Garrett Green's a really fun player at times. He's also very frustrating like the end of the game when you have a chance to go down there and maybe win it, and he throws an interception that was totally unnecessary. That's Garrett Green in a nutshell, was that at the end. And he had some other moments that were him as well, of the nice runs and being able to do some exciting things with the football. But, yeah, West Virginia had a chance there at the end. He throws the pick, dashes their hopes, and what was otherwise a game that looked like it was not going to be all that entertaining initially because Memphis jumped out to a lead, but by the end of it was actually pretty competitive and pretty fun, and West Virginia played hard. Rich Rod was there. He did an in-game interview. Didn't really say a whole lot that was too interesting or different than what we've already heard, but you just feel the excitement that he's back. He's really hammering home that he made a mistake, and he's glad to be back home and all of that. So you know that West Virginia fans are just gobbling that up. And as much as it would have been cool to see your seniors and those guys that'll be leaving go out with a win last night, they fought hard. It doesn't mean anything in the long run, and now I think you're excited to turn the page and really get the Rich Rod era part 2 rolling full steam ahead. But, a loss for the Big 12 for those that keep up with those bowl stats and things like that right out of the gates. But give credit to Memphis. They're a good football program.
He ended up almost 4,000 yards ahead of anybody else in Memphis history when it comes to passing yards, and again, over 100 yards passing at Memphis in his career. The fumbles by C.J. Donaldson were deadly, but at the same time, I thought that it was just that's it. Memphis gets in those games. That kind of, I think their style and sometimes who they are fits quite a bit. And unfortunately for them, not a part of the Big 12.
Well, I mean, Hennigan's a really good quarterback. He could definitely play at the power level, and they always have running backs and wide receivers at Memphis. They get guys in the pros. They're always going to have skill guys. And, the Donaldson fumbles, they were just super costly in the course of that game. But West Virginia had a chance there at the end, and it, like I said, turned out to be pretty competitive for a bowl game that didn't have much riding on it. West Virginia's like, well, this is just the last game before Rich Rod takes over, and for Memphis, it was the end of an era in so many ways. But I was entertained. I'm not going to watch every bowl game, but I had that on last night, and I enjoyed it, especially there at the end when it got a little bit dicey on the outcome. But that was a good win for the Tigers, and they're one of those teams that I think is still going to be beating on the door of the power leagues for as long as they possibly can. And they're one of those that if that door were to ever open again, you certainly feel like they're one of the first 2 or 3, if not first in line, as far as being ready and getting prepared for that call. But, regardless, they had a nice little finish to a really good season for the Tigers.
I hope Metal's not listening. His Memphis stuff can be ad nauseum. What?
He is.
Oh, my God. I take everything I said back. No, I mean what I said about that. Let's get to the portal. Some players we could have more time to talk to than talk about than others. But I'll tell you what, Texas Tech has done a great job in the portal. Baylor has had a very effective week in the portal. And then here are some stories we just kind of picked and chose here. DeQuan Finn visiting Michigan. He was at Toledo, had a really good career there. Just never happened at Baylor. Didn't start well, injured. Then Sawyer Robertson took the torch and has had a great year and is back for another couple of years. Finn is visiting Michigan. Paul, when we put this up in our little group text, you said, why not go to, or maybe it was you, Craig, why not go to a school that they love to run the football with the quarterback position too?
They love to run it without him. I mean, if you've got to run that offense, and he's a better passer than anybody they had on their roster this year. If they can get by and make a bowl game with that team this year, DeQuan Finn is probably worth 2 wins to them just because he can do a little bit more than the quarterbacks that they had on their roster. Now, I'm not saying he's gonna be J.J. McCarthy again. I just think he's a better player than they did that. So I think it's good for them. And look, he may not even have to play that much because Bryce Underwood's coming in there with the thought that he's going to compete for the job and maybe play as a true freshman. So I think it would be a good landing spot for him if he gets a shot.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he's even getting an extra year, I think you're thankful for that if you're DeQuan Finn, first of all, because you weren't certain that was going to be the case. But to have the nice little payday you got in Waco and hung out for about 9 months and got paid and had to deal with an injury, didn't get to play as much as you wanted, that could have been the end of your career, but he's getting this extra shot, so I'm happy for him, and I think he's good insurance and potentially a good starting quarterback for a few games, if not a season, depending on what Michigan's got around him. I don't want to make too much of his skill set or anything like that. I definitely wouldn't mention him in the same breath as, J.J. McCarthy as far as a winner goes at that level, but skills-wise, he's, a guy that can run around. He can sling it a little bit. He's not the best passer in the world. He's definitely got some room for work there, but you don't have to be a polished, crisp, perfect passer at the college football level. So his legs and what he can do with his arm, I think, is certainly better than what Michigan's been rolling out there for a large portion of this past season, and he could have helped them out this year. But that's a locker room, I think, where you're looking to really bolster that quarterback room, and with Underwood on the way, and then a guy like Finn, I think that's a nice kind of combination to get you in a better place than you have been over the last year.
Some of these guys will have more to say than others, but let's get to the transfer portal along with what Finn might do. Louisville offensive lineman Joe Crocker is committed to Baylor, had 30 offers during his recruitment. Big dude, 6'6", 315. He's headed to Baylor. I thought that Baylor needed to get an edge rusher, a linebacker, somebody in the secondary, obviously at wide receiver, and a couple of guys in the offensive line. They get Crocker from Louisville.
They certainly need the help up there, and we'll see how he does in the system. Everybody's kind of a wait and see, and it's tough for you to say, offensive line, great. Louisville was good this year, and when you said Joe Crocker, I just started playing music in my head.
Yeah, some great music too.
Well, they need offensive linemen, so that's an area of need, and he adds to that to-do list and let you check off one of those boxes. Don't know much about him outside of that and how exactly he'll fit in, but I do know that was an area of need, and Mason Miller did a really good job proving himself last season, especially in a bit of a pinch, and I think he trusts his evaluations and trusts what he was able to do with that group last year, and so welcome to another addition to what is an ever-growing transfer group for Dave Aranda and company.
Cole Wilson from Texas State, where they got Ashton Hawkins last year, who had a nice run this year with Baylor. He is headed to Baylor from Texas State, and they add a wide receiver, a room that is almost all but empty with all that's leaving, and they're starting to, of course, add some bodies to that along with Josh Cameron.
Yeah, he had a really productive year last year, 4 touchdowns, had over 600 yards, and guy from Texas, so very close to home. Will be able to have his family and friends around just like he did when he was at Texas State. So I'm sure that's a bonus in Baylor's cap and recruiting some of these in-state guys. But, yeah, they went to that well last year. It worked out pretty nicely with Ashton Hawkins and the way that he fit into the bigger picture. So hope to get as much of that out of Cole Wilson, if not a bit more. And receiver is a place of need. So just like with O-line, good to see them adding bodies. We'll kind of sort out what it all means details-wise, as we go along here and as we get into spring ball and all of that. But right now it's all about adding talent. And I think Cole Wilson's a guy that clearly has some talent. And so that's at least part of the wide receiver revamping that's underway now, and I think that's a good sign to see that they dipped back in and were able to get a guy quickly that they really liked.
The Matador Club in Lubbock, Texas Tech. We have a lot of Red Raider fans. They got Lee Hunter. That's a big dude, and I remember watching him, the number 2 defensive tackle in ESPN's transfer portal rankings, according to Max Olson. 6'4", 320 pounds, has 1 year left. He was an all-Big 12 defensive lineman. And he now, along with many others, we'll get to one more, is headed to Lubbock.
Didn't love Gus Malzahn that much because he was in Tallahassee this week and decided Lubbock, Texas was the place he wanted to be. But Lee Hunter is a large human being. And you could pretty much do whatever you wanted against the Texas Tech defense because they lacked a lot of large human beings up there. And if Shieldwood tells me you're good, I'm going to buy it. He's one of the exciting young coaches in the game. So, again, they're knocking it out of the park when it comes to the transfer portal and getting guys who are in demand.
Yeah, they're doing a really nice job to start off with, and I think they've already clearly gone over what Joey McGuire had said just a few days ago was kind of the goal. I think he'd said they're going to go grab like 10 guys, and I think they're at probably 12 or 13 at this point. They've added even more guys today, including Lee Hunter, who I remember in watching UCF wasn't a whole lot that was all that impressive outside of, an R.J. Harvey or a Kobe Hudson, but Lee Hunter was one of those guys when I did watch them that did pop out on tape, and I think that's a really good get for Texas Tech. Their defense was not very good, to say the least, mostly at the back end, but you can never – whether you were good or not, hurt and getting more big bodies up front. So I think just in general, even if they had a great defense last year, you'd still want Lee Hunter. But if you didn't have a good defense, you especially want Lee Hunter. So I think that's a really nice pickup for them amongst various others that we'll weave in and out of, I'm sure, here. But I think that Shieldwood and Joey McGuire and company clearly have a game plan. Joey acted quickly and making moves with the assistant staff. Not all of it in his control. Obviously, Zach Kitley left on his own accord, but he moved quickly, clearly had guys identify that he wanted to go and get, and they've clearly got players that they wanted to go and get, and they've been accomplishing both here in great fashion over the last couple of weeks. So I think you're loving the way this has all started off, off-season-wise, if you're a Red Raider fan. You wonder, Hunter, well, go against a young man. Hunter's 320 or so. North Carolina offensive tackle and transfer Howard Sampson's headed to Tech. 6'8", 325, was a starter for Mack Brown and North Carolina, so you think they might be in a few drills against each other. I think if you're going to add people, if you can't get that really, really, really good quarterback, then to me, you want defensive lineman or offensive lineman. Obviously, that's the way the game is won, no matter all the weapons and stuff. So they get both an offensive lineman, a defensive lineman, and that's not it, but those are the ones most recently.
I don't know if Belichick wanted Howard Sampson back or not. I have no idea. But if I'm Joey McGuire for the rest of my life, if I ever wake up in the morning and I'm feeling down, I'm thinking, man, if I choose the right path in life, things aren't going well, I can always go, you know what? A guy came to play for me instead of going to play for Bill Belichick.
Yeah, no.
So I'm doing something right. So, Howard Sampson, another large human being. There and on the other side of the ball. Everything's bigger in West Texas, I guess.
Yeah.
So that'll include their O-line, and he's a monster in terms of size. I mean, just absolute pro wrestling candidate if the football game doesn't work out, or UFC fighter or something. I mean, my goodness, 6'8", 300-plus pounds. That's a different life than I can even imagine living, but that'll certainly come in handy protecting Baron Morton and opening up holes for whoever their running back ends up being. I still feel like Ishmael Mahdi would make some sense, but I don't know. I don't know if
there's a mutual interest there or not, just drawing the connections, obviously, with Mac Leftwich and Texas State. But I think they're going to still go out and find a running back. Replacing Taj Brooks won't be easy, but they're building the lines up, and they're building the secondary up, and they've added a wide receiver, and they've done a lot in this first few days of the transfer portal, as we've mentioned now a couple of times. So, yeah, another what seems like pretty stellar addition, and really fortifying those lines that were not great for you, especially offensively, and haven't been as good as they need to be for you so far through Joey McGuire's first 3 seasons. So definitely they're going all in, it looks like, in year 4. And they kind of need to, because they've kind of hit this wall of 8-9 wins, and that's great and that's really good. But I know that their goal is championships. And so to get over that hump, you need more talent, and they've certainly started to write the checks to try to bring in more talent, as much talent as they possibly can.
I looked this up because I was thinking about big individuals like Sampson and others. It made me think of those wind turbines. The state of Texas has 19,127 active wind turbines. They always scare me when I go over a hill, and then you look out, and it's like all these wind turbines. There's some now even here east of Waco in the Mart area, which is interesting. Who's the number 2 state for wind turbines in the country?
Oklahoma.
They're 4th.
Oh. California.
California is 3rd.
New Mexico.
Not included in the top 8. I just have the top 8. Iowa.
Oh.
Iowa's number 2. I was wondering, just curious about that. Kansas, Illinois, Colorado, Minnesota, the rest of the top 8. Caden Salter. Dion has the young stud coming in to play quarterback, but also now a veteran. And Caden Salter, who was at Liberty, he now is signed with Deion Sanders, Colorado, and a nice pickup for the Buffaloes in that quarterback room now has some depth.
Salter was better in 23 than he was in 24, but still a good player, fits what they want to do. But if they want to, protect him, make sure that they can improve on this year and be better, hit the ground running for Juju Lewis when he gets there. If they want to do that, then they have to give Caden Salter a running game because things are going to be different for him playing for Colorado than it was for Liberty. Like, this is a gigantic jump up in schedule because Liberty very willfully schedules down. And so Caden Salter's going to have a big jump up. I think he's going to be a fit in the system, but he's also not Shadur. He's not a dude who's going to be the first, second, third pick in the draft like Shadur will. So they're going to have to give him a running game because he also won't have the Bolitnikoff winner out there playing for him this year, even though they've got.
Is Wester out too? All the other guys that he had, all the weapons
I think Will Shepard's gone.
Horn?
I think Horn's gone. So I'm not sure about Wester. I think Wester is too, but he's not going to have Travis Hunter. And so I don't care who you get. It's still going to be maybe a little bit of a dip from, the unicorn that's out there. So I like the move, but they have to give him a running game if they want him to be on the same level as successful as Shadur, because he's not the same level of talent as Shadur.
Yeah, nobody is. Anybody they brought in was going to be a step down from probably the number 1 overall pick in the draft. And Julian Lewis might be that guy, but he can't be that guy for at least 3 years. So, yeah, anybody is a step down from Shadur, barring them going and signing whoever you expect to be Arch Manning or something next year. Yeah. That's kind of the area you're talking about in terms of the star status and the talent and the expectations and all of those types of things. So, that's going to be a transition, and I think with Julian Lewis being as young as he is, the veteran coming in to help stem the tide a little bit and give you some more experience and give you some more looks and give you some more balls to go around and in practices, I think is just a logical step to take, and I think this is a smart pickup. I think that there's definitely a ramping up of the schedule that he will face. We saw what happened when Liberty finally played somebody with a pulse, Tennessee, a couple years ago, and absolutely smacked to oblivion. But that wasn't obviously all on him. He did have a down year last year, statistically compared to the year prior, which you can chalk up to whatever you want to. I know that there are some Liberty fans who aren't shedding a tear. I mentioned this way before we even knew he was involved with Colorado. I mentioned this like last week. I think we were talking about Caden Salter and some of the send-off that he was getting when it was announced that he was probably transferring, which that could be just some, bitterness, but I also think it was the fact that he wasn't the same guy in 24 as he was in 23 for whatever reason that was. But he is a very talented player, started off at Tennessee for a reason, is getting this opportunity for a reason, is a bit of a dual threat, more of a passer, though, than he is a runner. And I think he's a nice talent to put in that quarterback room, and certainly probably be your starter for at least the beginning of next year, and then you work in Julian Lewis however that best fits. But I like the pickup given their situation and what they're dealing with, losing so many talented players. And Wester's gone. He's a senior. So they're going to have some weapons to try to bolster that offense.
Braylon Miller, a kid from Silsbee, Texas.
He'll be at the top of the list.
Tremendous player. There's a couple of others. Wait, is Taylor in the
No, we're going to call him.
Okay, we're going to call him. I'll just say these, and we could always go back. Eric Singleton from Georgia Tech to Auburn. I thought for some reason he'd be a pickup like at Texas. A great player, wide receiver. C.J. Daniels, wide receiver to Miami. That's a deal. And then we'll get to some other stories. Those two wide receivers also have made their move, and there's always something going on even by the time we come back. Taylor McCarg, CBS and ESPN. He's next, and this is 365 Sports. PettyClinicLowT.com. Dr. Ken Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. Used to be is as you get older, 1 out of every 3 or 4 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. It's just something that can happen. No matter how fit you are, no matter what your diet might be, no matter all of the things you do to stay healthy, it can happen. It's like some people who have high cholesterol or blood pressure. So this can happen too. Dr. Petty, if you're interested in trying to find out if it might be your testosterone level, if your energy's not the same, you're lethargic, you don't sleep well, your sex drive, all of those things they're just not happening as well. He can set you up to get your blood work. They will take care of that. You contact him at PettyClinicLowT.com, and if your testosterone level is too low, he can put you in a program to increase it at PettyClinicLowT.com.
Don't miss the best price deals during the wrap-up of year sales event at Allen Samuels. Save big on the truck you've been looking for, like the new 2025 Rams. Designed to be durable, functional, and stylish, Ram trucks give you that first-class feel. Hurry in and shop our great selection in-store or online today. Shop an award-winning dealership with award-winning product. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Our communities are facing unprecedented times. At Boozer's Jewelers, we care about you and your family. If you're like me, your home has unwanted or unused jewelry lying around. They can have value, and that means we can turn that jewelry into instant cash. This is a great way to get the most value from your unwanted jewelry. At Boozer's Jewelers, we buy all kinds of unused jewelry. So give us a call and let us give you peace of mind and cash for your unwanted or unused jewelry.
If you want quality and personalized service for all your air conditioning and heating needs, call Tradesman Services. They're a family-owned and operated company that has served Texans for over 30 years. Tradesman offers maintenance plans starting at just $12 per month and a free service call for all new customers. They're also experts in geothermal design, installation, and service. Visit them online at coolingwaco.com.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow @GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student-athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
365 Sports with CBS ESPN college football analyst, weekly guest that we have, and Taylor McCarkey joins us. Taylor, thank you very much for your time. We can discuss the transfer portal and the timelines and the comings and goings constantly, every day, every week, whatever. Your thoughts about where it is now, and do you think that they actually might ever gain some control over this, or is it too late?
I don't think it's too late. I think it's one of the few things in our sport where it seems like everybody involved is displeased with it. And so I think because of that, whether you're a player, whether you're a coach, all the way down to agents, this creates so much unnecessary work and unrest, and it's not good for the sport. And I think one of the things that I'm in favor of is limiting this to a one-time, I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, one-time window, and it be in the spring, so that when you get on campus, you are there for a calendar year. And so it forces you to go through, obviously, a summer and fall, but you've got to be there through spring ball as well, because I think a lot of these situations, kids leave as soon as they are not named the starter. And I think it's impacting the game, not just from kids having to sit out and these guys like what we're seeing with Penn State, with Pribula, and sitting out and missing either a game or bowl season or certainly the playoff. But I think it's not allowing kids to get developed either. And you're missing these windows of potential growth, and things change. Injuries happen, even in spring ball. And I think no matter what, this has to get solved where we don't have these disasters like what's going on with Marshall right now, where they've got 25 plus guys that have opted out. Now they've got to back out of their bowl game, what should have been a really good bowl game. Sun Belt champ Marshall against the American Conference champ in Army. That should have been a fantastic game. Instead, Marshall's no longer playing because of the opt-outs, and those are the things that really damage our sport right now. And I think there is momentum to try and get this fixed. I think at some point they will get reins. The sport collectively will get some reins on what these portal windows look like.
Well, don't you think that part of that with revenue sharing can come with, hey, let's make these contracts April 1st to March 31st or something like that, as opposed to that way the window can genuinely open in spring?
There's no doubt. And NIL, as it's structured right now, since it's become legal, has been a total free-for-all because the money is raised and handled privately. It's separate from the school. These collectives are their own entity, separate from the university. And even if a head coach, what we've seen with like a Mike Norvell, if they donate some of their salary back to the university or to a collective, that's still being handled privately. And then it gets distributed to the quote unquote student athletes. You're exactly right. If this becomes a rev share model, the university has now a little more control over. It's a 1-year contract, your scholarship and your contract. And in order to keep the money or retain all of the money that whatever you've agreed to, you've got to be on campus for that calendar year. You can't leave during the bowl season, during the playoffs. But I think there's absolutely momentum across the board. The scholarship, these guys don't want to do that. They don't want to leave early in most cases. They're only doing it because there's only so many roster spots that are out there and so much money. And if you don't get out ahead of it, you risk losing out on a lot of money.
Taylor, a lot of guys moving around, a lot of guys still looking for their spots as well, but one player that we just talked about that's made a decision, and I don't know how out of nowhere it was because I wasn't closely tracking Colorado's early moves, but Caden Salter making the move from Liberty over to Colorado. They've obviously got Julian Lewis coming in, but you don't expect a freshman to just take the ball and roll with it necessarily right out of the gate. So what do you make of Salter and the fit there in Boulder?
Yeah, had Caden Salter once last year, a couple times this year with Liberty. Really dynamic player, really good, talented quarterback. I think he's going to benefit from being on a bigger stage. He deserves to be on a bigger stage. And it'll be curious because what he provided for Liberty is a different scheme than what, a lot of Colorado right now is Shedeur Sanders, pure drop back passing, making some plays happen off script, but there is not a lot of design quarterback run game in that offense. Caden Salter and what Liberty ran was like your modified triple option out of shotgun. It's a lot of zone read with option off of it. It is stretch zone where the quarterback is running vertically. Colorado doesn't run that right now. So it'll be interesting to see, do they adapt to him or does he have to adapt to their scheme? But he is a really good player. And I think, look, as we've seen, I'll use the example for you guys close to home. I mean, I thought DeQuan Finn was going to be a home run for Baylor. So you don't always know, even if it's a really good player at a different school, you never know what's going to end up happening once they transfer. But on paper, this should be good for Caden Salter and Colorado.
Is he somebody, and I'm asking this because I don't know, is he somebody that if he goes to Colorado and he improves on some things he needs to improve on, can he play at the next level with his body, style, and all that?
I think he could be a day 2, day 3 guy. I don't see him as a first round franchise pick. He doesn't have the body for it. He doesn't have the arm for it. But I do think he's a dynamic enough player that could he make a roster? Yeah, absolutely.
Who among the quarterbacks that's transferred so far do you think is the biggest home run?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I don't know that there's been anybody that I think has been a home run. I don't think there's been anybody that I've seen so far where you say this is going to absolutely fix this program. And I think part of the reason for that is, I'll go back to the example with DeQuan Finn. We just don't know. There are guys that have big names that they land at their new spot and it doesn't work. DJ Uiagalelei was supposed to be that was going to be the guy for Florida State that kept them at national prominence, and look at how that turned out. I don't have an example of anybody that I have seen that's gone into the portal where you say that is going to be a difference maker, game changer for that program and elevate them in a way that like a Dylan Gabriel last year. I think that made a lot of sense. I thought he was run out of town in Oklahoma prematurely, and obviously Oklahoma paid for it. And now Dylan Gabriel's got a chance to be a top 5 pick with how he's played. So I don't see that type of impact for anybody that's been in the portal so far in this class.
Go ahead, Greg. I'm sorry. No. How much fun was that game, UC Davis in South Dakota in the Dome?
Oh, man. So most of my time with ESPN in the postseason is these FCS playoffs, and then this weekend I've got the Division II National Championship. Those games are so fun because, we get most of the season I spend with either the Big 12 or the Mountain West, and towards the end of the year, you get games where maybe it's teams that are fighting for a bowl, but sometimes it's teams that they've sort of packed it in already. They know what they are, even if they're bowl eligible. They're hovering around 7-8 wins. Then you switch to the postseason, and the FCS games, man, it matters so much to these guys, and as it should, obviously. But getting to be in that part of the country with, I've done a game at South Dakota State last year, South Dakota this year. That region just dominates the FCS level, and it went chalk 1 through 4. North Dakota State, South Dakota, and Montana State that are now in the finals. And for D2, again, I've got their national championship this week. Ferris State and Valdosta State, 2 really good programs that play really good football. And there's a lot of Division I talent that's transferred down to that level. So I love doing these games. I think there's some of the most fun football that's out there, and really good competitive football and good coaches that it's fun to see. ESPN's really leaned in on this upcoming weekend. Both semifinals are on national television. Most of them are on national television for the quarterfinals. The Division II National Championship, that's on ESPN too. I think it's great that ESPN's leaning into these lower levels in a big way.
I know you said that there's not really that difference maker at quarterback, but I was curious your thoughts on John Mateer, and if you think there's a spot that makes the most sense. Obviously, Oklahoma seems to make sense for a lot of people with the Ben Arbuckle connection there, but there's the double whammy of what happened with Jake Dickert today. I mean, we're sitting here listening to this guy and kind of feeling sorry for him. And next
going
thing
to
you
Wake
know,
Forest.
Yeah, he's at Wake Forest now. So just your thoughts on Mateer, and I really just feel for Wazoo fans at this point, Taylor.
Yeah, I had them probably week 7 or 8 at San Diego State, and that was really when they were rolling. And they were, after that game, they busted into the top 25. And it was, if you're outside looking in, I don't have a rooted interest in any of this, but for college football as a whole, that looked like a team that if you could keep that core group together, that becomes a dark horse next year to get into the college football playoff. And now the whole thing is looking like it's going to unravel. John Mateer is a really good player, a really dynamic athlete. Some of the ways that I would describe Caden Salter are similar to John Mateer. Really, really quick feet running the football and ability to make people miss. I think that was one of the things when we covered them that stood out was he could make you miss in a phone booth, a really strong player. It'll be interesting where he lands. I think for Oklahoma, I think he's somebody better than Jackson Arnold, should elevate that quarterback spot if he lands at Oklahoma. But Oklahoma, to me, has got too many other issues around them where, again, I go back to Dylan Gabriel with Oregon. That is a top-tier team that you plugged in Dylan Gabriel, and that elevated them to top 5 team. I don't think John Mateer is a good enough player by himself that he's going to get to Oklahoma, and now they're a national championship contender. I think they've got too many other issues around that spot.
Taylor, real quick, who's got the most pressure on this weekend in the playoff?
I think it's Texas. I think Texas, maybe seemingly limping to the finish line, 2 losses against Georgia, and their best win, I guess we would say, would be A&M. But I know that it's at least last I look, it's the biggest line for the opening weekend in terms of the point spread. But it would not stun me if Clemson went in, and if Cade Klubnik plays well, wouldn't altogether stun me if Clemson went in and won, because that's a team that's used to playing in big spots. And Texas still has not proven this year that they, when it matters most, that they can play well, and Quinn Ewers specifically can play well and eliminate some of the turnover issues. That's been huge for them. I think that game's going to be really interesting. And I know we talked about it last week, but I think Penn State just got an unbelievable draw because getting to host SMU, they should win that game. They should beat Boise State. And there is a very clear path to them getting to the semifinals.
Taylor, it's weird to say this, but have you filled out your bracket? Like, do you have a full, have you filled out, do you have your national champion?
I haven't even thought about it, honestly. I need to do it for hoops. I haven't been so caught up in talking about these first-round games, I haven't even done it.
Yeah, just curious. I mean, it just dawned on me of there's actually sort of with just 4 teams, it's very simple. But, hey, you add 8 more in there, and it's kind of got a little mini bracket. It's just kind of fun to see everybody sort of filling theirs out. And I was just curious if you'd gone through it just yet. But, yeah, we'll obviously have a much clearer picture after this weekend.
Yeah, and these games, these first-round games, these home playoff games, I think are going to be incredible. I think the fact that we get an in-state game between Indiana and Notre Dame, no one would have ever believed that scenario was possible back in August. But that's what's been so fun about this season is you've had so many storylines that the Big 12, in y'all's backyard, that league, the top of that league in August from the coaches poll ended up at the bottom and vice versa. And Arizona State is in the college football playoff. There's so many, Boise State getting a bye in the first round. You can go in a million different directions. And I think this expanded playoff, in my opinion, I don't think there's any question that it's been healthy for the sport. And in a sport where the portal stuff is a disaster and it's a mess, but viewership is up across the board. And I think in large part it's because football is relevant in a lot of places at the end of the year that it typically is not. Arizona State being relevant in November, that is not usually the case. So this is, in my opinion, again, I'll say it again, no question this has been good for the sport, expanding it to 12 teams.
Taylor, thank you, buddy. And we're off all of next week, so enjoy some downtime. We'd love to keep you on at least through the championship week if that's okay.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, Merry Christmas to you guys.
You too.
I've got the Rate Bowl on radio after that, and then I'm done for the season, but would love to keep it going. Love coming on with you guys.
You too. We love having you. Taylor McHargue, CBS and ESPN college football analyst, with us on Wednesdays in the 3 o'clock hour.
I was going to do it if Paul didn't do it, but I'm glad he mentioned, the games.
Yeah. I got a question about that on our pick'em too. While you're bringing that up,
it kind of feels to me like it's way off, but it's 2 days from now.
Right, it's 2 days from now.
It's always felt like there's another week, but we just had that week. That was last week. Now this is the week of the playoff.
But and I do think that by this weekend that every focus will be on that, but it does right now feel a little NBA-ish of the off seasons taking over the actual on the court, which is typically how the NBA works up until like the finals, especially these days. If you see they're trying to tinker with like everything known to man to try to create interest, they get their most interest when it's free agency and everybody's rolling around and signing new contracts. And I don't think college football is at that point. I think the product on the field is still good. They're not having to like revamp everything. But we got to remind ourselves, there's games going on as well, like big playoff games this weekend.
Yeah, they are. Friday and Saturday, of course, that unbelievable game in Indiana in South Bend with Notre Dame and Indiana along the others with SMU playing, Texas at home. Ticket prices have not been great. There's been a little bit of a lull, and some are thinking that one of the things that was not brought into play, these are all some big boy schools playing at home, is that the possibility of even schools that have huge fan bases going 1 week after another, and some coming off SEC or Big 12 or et cetera, championship games, although Arizona State does have a first-round bye.
Who could have seen that coming other than everybody?
But the part that also comes into play is the weekend prior to Christmas, with Christmas being on Wednesday, that might have interfered a little bit. I'm sure that those stadiums are going to be fine, but the ticket prices have been fluctuated up and down. Maybe they'll go back up between now and the games on Friday and Saturday.
Well, if you don't already live in Austin and you're thinking like, well, I want to go see Texas, but they're going to beat Clemson, so I don't need to spend all the money for this, and I'll be at home at Christmas. I'll just go to the next game.
Yep.
Like, there's going to be a lot of that, and and then I'm sure the prices as well. Like, not everybody can afford to just go 3-4 spots in the span of 6 weeks. And
a friend of mine bought 2 tickets for $300 a piece for he and his son. They went down to like $220. Now they're back up to $380. Parking is what's most expensive right now for the game in Austin.
I'd imagine.
When we come back, Jeff Traylor, UTSA, they're going to be playing a bowl game here this weekend. Also, Cole Kublik from ESPN, the SEC Network, will join us. A lot more to get to. This is 365 Sports. The Baylor Club traded a phone call actually today with Mike Mosel at the Baylor Club. They are slammed. Holidays and what they have going on with special dinners and menus and meals and more, and the chefs they have to cook it for you, plus various Christmas parties that they host, and just a chance to get away and go have a great time at the Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium. Yeah, no more games left, although there were some high school playoff games recently. The Baylor Club with memberships available. And don't forget, if you mention 365 or 365 Sports, there's a chance you get a nice discount on your membership coming up. In fact, 75% off initiation fees and no dues until 2025, which is not this month, but next month. Whether you're university staff, a local resident, or visiting from out of town, Waco's premier social club is open to everyone. The Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium. Mention that you are a part of what we do, the viewership of Sikkim 365 or 365 Sports, and you get the opportunity for 75% off initiation fees and no payments as far as dues until next month. The Baylor Club, Mike Mosel, the GM, inside McLean Stadium.
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgan Ford. It's that time of year, it's football season. Bird Colgan Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 selling truck in Texas, the F-Series truck, 47 years in a row. Come see the largest showroom in Texas and experience better at Bird Colgan Ford.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
in tailgate season. If you want product for the grill or smoker, charcoal, seasonings, marinades, sauces, Waco Custom Marketplace is your home to help prep, cook, and enjoy your food. Tailgate must-like brisket, tri-tip, fresh-made burgers, sausage, chicken wings, and if you want steaks, call in your order and pick them up. Bacon wrap fillets or any kind of ribeyes. USDA Select, Choice, and Prime that melt in your mouth. House-made sausage and jerky. Also, Waco Custom Marketplace, a one-stop shop for tailgating, barbecue, cook-offs, and family get-togethers, fundraisers with fair prices to you, the customer. A bakery with fresh baked bread and kolaches. There's cold beer, wine, and soft drinks. Serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. A cut above the rest. Waco Custom Marketplace, open Monday through Saturday at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend's Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Jeff Traylor, head football coach at UTSA, joins us. Of course, they have a bowl game coming up this weekend. Jeff also will be and has been announced that he's a part of, we know, the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame that will be inducted in May, but also now a part of the Texas High School Coaches Association Hall of Honor for his time and what he did at Gilmer. Thanks for your time. Congratulations on that. And you're now a double whammy Hall of Famer, buddy.
Yeah, I think they're all my buddies forever, David, and I think they know I had a rough season in September and October when those decisions were made, and we got hot until the end of November, and we're playing really good right now. So I don't know that they would have put me in if I hadn't started off so rough. They're probably just afraid I was down so much. They're trying to give me a pick-me-up.
So a little sympathy honor, but no, you earned it. Jeff, I know you could go on forever about where we are with college football. I've seen you talk about it, GJ talk about it, others talk about it, even some of the head coaches of the larger schools who are having people poach them while they're poaching everybody else. How can this ever change?
It's really not that complicated. You got an academic calendar that we're pretending like we're all honoring, which we are. That's what's got the transfer portal where it is. And we've got a football calendar of bowls and playoffs competing against each other. And you're going to either have to make the academic calendar match the football calendar, or you've got to make the football calendar match the academic calendar. We're done. It's just that simple.
Don't give a simple solution to a complicated problem, Jeff. They don't want to hear that. That's the problem, right? Is they're not looking at it that way. Also, what would be the problem with getting a waiver, for somebody to take online classes at one school while they transfer to another one? Is that too problematic?
Well, what you have is you don't have leadership, right? Mm-hmm. Whenever you don't have somebody over it for the head of the whole game, and you have, let's be honest, there's so many people with their hand in the cookie jar. The presidents have their concerns, right? The presidents are about the academic calendar. I mean, they're trying to run a school where, ESPN and the guys that are paying the bills, they want the most viewers watching the game. So you just got a lot of people that are competing for the right to make the decision, and we're trying to make everybody happy, and in the end, we're really making nobody happy.
Coach, how much has it changed bowl time for your program, a time that typically you'd have the young players get their reps, and you'd have all these different things that you can accomplish with these extra practices? Has it drastically changed that? Because especially for someone like you, you're having to constantly look over your shoulder and make sure those guys that are practicing are actually going to be there, by the time the next semester starts up.
Well, the bad luck for me is we lost all those senior kids early in the year. We lost some of our very best seniors on offense, right? And had to put in all those young guys, which took us a little while to get going. Well, now we're one of the top 25 countries in the top 25 offenses in the country. We're playing really, really good football right now with a bunch of freshmen and sophomores that are getting tampered with every day, right? So now I'm going to play on the 23rd, and those same freshmen and sophomores just go out there and just ball out. And I know good and well they're going to get tampered with the 24th, the 25th, the 26th, the 27th, and the 28th until the portal closes. Now, I don't think I'll lose any of them. I don't, because we're all so close and we're paying them as much money as we can here at UTSA. But that's just the new world we live in. I think we legalized tampering somewhere along the way. I think we just said it's okay. I think we don't even worry about it anymore.
I mean, that's what it's got to feel like, right? Is that, people are getting tampered with, and then you say, well, what are you going to do about it? And they're like, they just kind of shrug their shoulders, don't they?
Well, you really can't prove it anymore because you've got third-hand parties dealing with all of it. And I'm not even sure the coaches know anymore. I'm not even sure the coaches really know that the kids are being tampered with. I believe the agents are the ones doing the tampering, and the only way they're going to make money is for those kids to get in the portal and get their 20% or their 10% out of those kids' checks.
You have mentioned how UTSA needs to step up, and they have tried. There's only so much they can do. Other schools that are not maybe a part of getting that huge revenue money later on when it starts up, whatever that might be. How long before some school, you think you'll ever see a school that just say, screw it, we can't do this anymore?
Oh, yeah. I think you're going to start seeing some of that. I really do. That would not surprise me at all, David. I don't know. I've not heard of that yet, but I could see how that could happen. I really could.
Coach, on the field,
I'm sorry, you just don't participate in revenue sharing. You just say you're not doing it.
Yeah.
Now, that's where the league's going to come in. Like our league, Tim Fernetti's on record to AAC, there's going to be a minimum to be in our league. You've got to put up this much money in your revenue sharing or you're not going to be in their league. So I could see there being pressure from the leagues as well to make sure their leagues are competitive. That's when these schools will have to decide. Because in July of 25, UTSA is now on the hook for how much we're going to pay our own players. And our president and our AD are on record as saying we're going to revenue share. And so that's where I think they're going to start feeling, to David's point, a lot of this pressure these coaches have been feeling. And then what David said might come true. Somebody might just say, we're not doing this.
Yeah. We're going to start playing in the others. Maybe even relegate yourself. I don't know. You hope to not see that, but it wasn't something I wanted to ask you about. Craig?
Coach, on the field, where I know it's much more your place of happiness. It's a very up and down year at times for you, but as you mentioned, you had a very young team, a lot of guys who were playing a lot for the first time, and by the end of it, you guys are in the postseason once again with some big wins and some big moments. Just how would you describe this season for the 2024 UTSA Roadrunners?
Oh, I was just like you described it. I mean, I think it was more down and then way up here late. We played really good football the last 6 weeks. And we've had our O-line stay pretty steady now for a while. We lost our center, Lopez, early in the year for the season. We lost our left guard, Vintage Tufu, early in the season, all-conference football player. Lost our right tackle, Mekhi Hart, for the season, all-conference football player. Oscar Cardenas, the legendary tight end here, has played, forever for us for the season. And pretty much we've been steady now up front. So we're running the ball better now. We've got a really good young quarterback, really good young tight ends, good young wide receivers. And we're just being steady. And we're playing good football at the right time of year. And really glad that my kids could pull this together for our 5th consecutive bowl. It's crazy 5 years have gone by this fast, but 5 consecutive bowls for the Roadrunners is something we're very proud of.
What do you think about the Chanticleers that you're playing this week? This is a really good team now that they've got some guys that are out that are in the portal, but they just seem to kind of reload and they're always competitive.
Another team that's been to 5 straight bowls. That's pretty remarkable. And Tim has done a good job there, Beck, and a lot of guys on that staff I've known forever. Defensive coordinator Craig Niver and I'm excited about them. Now look, we're the fascinating team. I doubt y'all know this. We're undefeated at home. We're like 29-3 in 5 seasons at the Alamo Dome, but we have not won a game on the road this season, and we're the only bowl team that drew. That's where Coastal is. Myrtle Beach Bowl is Coastal Carolina's home. So we are the road team again. So can the Roadrunners finally win a road game in 2024?
Yeah, that's a great no. Yeah, the Roadrunners. I mean, you gotta be good on the road with the name Roadrunners. When something like that happens, where there's a unique circumstance, like you're not very good at home, like the Cowboys this year, right? You're not very good at home, or you're not very good on the road. What do you sort of attribute that to, and what kind of a uniqueness is there where something like that just doesn't seem to go your way? Is there anything that's like the button that you push that you know the reason why, or is it just sometimes that's just the way that the team's, I guess, formed? I don't know.
No, I think it always gets down to you can't run the football, and we have not been great at running the football. We're not bad at running it right now on first and second down. So when everybody in the building, when David fixes the second guessing you for throwing a play action pass on 3rd down and 1,
right,
or you're throwing a naked on 4th down and 1, he's in the stands going, well, why is he not just running inside zone and getting the first down? Or run the tush push. Well, I mean, that's what's frustrating. That's 4-minute offense. That's red zone. And we've had big leads on the road and blown them because we couldn't run it late. And we've been terrible on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 this year. And I would say that's it in a nutshell. You got to be able to run the football. And we've gotten way better at it. If you look at the last 5 weeks, 6 weeks, we're rushing for about 200 a game again. You look at the first 6 weeks, we're hitting about 80 or 90 a game. You can't win when you can't run the ball.
You lost that game by 1 to Tulsa, then went on a stretch of winning 3 in a row. Memphis, North Texas, both of them very good. They're bowl teams. Then you had the win against Temple. Before the win against Memphis, and we saw what they did last night to West Virginia, what were you like at that time? Were you fun to be around at all?
No, and then the day of the game, David, my best receiver, had his baby. And he did the right thing, and he didn't come to the game. And so now I already had we had 3 scholarship receivers that day on the field, and those 3 kids could not have played crazier. They played incredible that day. It would have been a hard time anybody beating us that day. We played incredible, and one of the best wins we've had. First, believe it or not, all the winning we've done here, it's the first top 25 win we've had in the history of our school. That I didn't even know we hadn't done that yet. So, and then North Texas only had 1 loss. And then Army had no losses at that time. So if you looked at what we had to do in the month of November, there wouldn't have been many people betting on the Roadrunners going to a bowl berth.
Is having a player have to go for the birth of a baby the least powerful, the most powerless you can feel over a situation as a coach where you're like, well, look, I mean, you can't schedule out these things like that.
Well, where that gets you, obviously, if you could plan around it. Those things, when they happen the day of the game, it's like an injury. Mm-hmm. You're just not prepared for it. Like those are tough. But man, Willie did the right thing. He did the right thing. I'm happy for him. Daughter's doing great, and he'll always look back at that decision and be proud of his decision. And it just so happened the very same time my son Jordan was having his first son. And he was having to deal with it. Like, Dad, what happens if Sierra has this baby when we're about to play for the Saints? I was like, son, that's the question you're going to have with you and your organization. I mean, you got to decide what's right for you and your family, and you got to hope your organization backs you in that moment. And luckily for Jordan, his son wasn't on a Sunday. So that worked out better for him. Willie's wasn't that way. We had to get through it, and we did.
Jeff, you've won everywhere you've been. Has this been your best coaching job?
I don't feel like it because I thought we had a 10-win team, and I thought we could compete for a conference championship. I really did, and we didn't get there. And, we played for a conference championship the last game of the season every year we've been here, except for this one. And now if you watched our Army game, it was like a conference championship. Mm-hmm. It was 2 heavyweights going at it. And I'm just disappointed, David. I'm crushed. If I can hold on to all my young kids on offense, we'll be really good next year. Now I've got to go replace an entire defense. Those guys have been playing for me forever. I'm losing, all 11 starters. And I know one of them is a underclassman, but he's declaring for the league. He's going to be fantastic. Zay Frazier, another great corner that UTSA has developed. And if there's any great corners out there wanting to be developed, you got a home here at UTSA.
So you have people raiding your roster and tampering. How do you, while you're getting ready for a bowl game, try to react to it yourself while trying to find your players?
I literally had an official visit with a quarterback exit meeting that ended at 4:04 because I told him David Smoak was calling me at 4:05. I mean, you just don't stop. It never stops. I just told my general manager, I've been blessed, David. You've kept up with my career forever. In my 20 seasons as a head coach, I've played to the end of December almost all of them, to be very frankly honest with you. I mean, for sure 10 times. We were in 5 state championships, 5 bowls. So there's 10. That's half your career. Every year we played past Thanksgiving at Gilman. We were blessed there. And I can remember always telling people, I have nothing left in the tank. There's no way I can do anything else. And now you're managing an entire roster. You're the lead fundraiser. You're the general manager. And you're the owner as well because you're the one making all the decisions.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy what we're all going through right now. But the kids are perfect. The kids are wonderful. The adults have messed this up, David. This is not the kids. The kids have been put in this position by the adults.
Yeah, I saw. I forgot who it was. He's been
Tim.
like six different. Tim Beck was saying that, but also 6 different AD. He had been an AD at 6 different schools. Kevin White, I think it was. Maybe I'm wrong on the name, but he said, I'm blaming myself and everybody else that's a part of the ones who were supposed to be the leadership of college football, letting this get to the point. And the NCAA waiting too late until then. They just lost everything in the law in the courtroom or lawsuits. Man, I wish you the best of luck. Appreciate your time. Has the couch stayed clean? We always end up with that one to close out an interview with you.
She's got so many blankets on it now. I mean, you won't even see the couch. There's probably 6 layers of blankets on top of the white couch. I just have given up. I go upstairs to my old faithful brown leather couch in my man room, and I don't even fight it anymore. I've moved the white flag, David.
Well, that's a smart man that you are. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate your time. Congratulations on the Hall of Honor, and look forward to seeing you in May here in Waco. Look forward to it. Thanks for your time.
You're always the best, David. God bless. Birds up.
Thank you. Birds up. That's Jeff Traylor, head coach at UTSA. So he's having people tampering with his players while he's also trying to fill up spots that might be empty. In what he's done, it's a hell of a job. Beat Memphis, and we know how good they're really good. And then they got on a roll, won 3 in a row to get themselves bowl eligible, lost to Army by 5. I was going to ask him about Army-Navy. Was he surprised by that result? Because Navy dominated that game on Saturday. When we come back, college football, we love this segment. Cole Kublik coming up next. This is 365 Sports. TexasBeefHouse.com. The Duvall family with their ranch right outside of Tyler, in between Tyler and also White House. They will have auctions again that start back up in the month of January as the family tries to decompress a little bit from all of the live auctions they've had throughout the year of 2024. When I first had someone reach out to me about what they're doing there, TexasBeefHouse.com with farm-raised, right there on their land, Angus cattle, and that they were going to have Angus beef and Wagyu beef. I'm like, whoa, Wagyu. Yes, Wagyu beef. And they had the ability for you to go online, TexasBeefHouse.com, and contact them and get what you wanted from their online store. And then all of a sudden, these live auctions started to occur. And now many other beef companies around the country are doing these live auctions on Bid on Beef, and TexasBeefHouse.com was one that started the trend where you get to buy what you want at the price you want to buy through the auctions. You walk into a grocery store or you walk into somewhere with a butcher shop and they have a sticker on the beef per pound. You, with these live auctions, have a chance to jump in for over a couple of different days, watch what you want to buy, how much you want to pay, walk away if it gets too expensive, or buy it. And it will be delivered to you, and that's what they do. It's a great company, the Duvall family. Fantastic beef, farm-raised right there on their land at TexasBeefHouse.com.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions IT success guaranteed.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student-athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student-athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student-athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow @GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student-athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Here we go, 365 Sports, as we are about halfway through what we do today. Don't forget tonight at 10:30 on the local CW, 365 Sports Tonight. Emery Winter takes all of what we do, whether it's topics or discussions, conversations, and yes, of the guests that we have, and then places them within an hour. 4 different segments on CW here locally. We are joined by, in fact, we will absolutely have this segment later tonight on the CW. Cole Kublik joins us on 365 Sports. It's been a while. How you doing, man? Oh, we lost his. Do I have no audio?
You're muted, Cole.
Let's see here. You said you might be muted. Nothing?
Yeah, no, still muted.
Oh, you want to try to call him?
Yeah.
Okay. That's okay. We'll try to get that done here in just a moment. There was the one story that I saw when it comes to the transfer portal that was interesting. The state of Louisiana won a $10 million lawsuit or a settlement from a vaping company, Juul Vaping Company, and is spending $225,000 of that on NIL deals with LSU athletes as part of an anti-vaping campaign. That from Ross Dellinger of y'all. Oh, there we are. We got it?
Yeah, we got it now.
All right. Can you hear us, Cole?
I got you.
Okay.
Yes.
There you go. Okay. Good. All right. Thank you very much. Cole Kublik. What's wrong, Garrett?
Just Garrett can deal with it.
Okay. Cole Kublik joins us. The college football playoffs. And which game intrigued you the most coming up this weekend starting on Friday night?
I do think that Indiana-Notre Dame game has a lot of intrigue for a lot of reasons. I think it's going to be a really good game. I think the Notre Dame defensive line can hold up well against what Indiana brings to the table, but their linebackers have to have a good game. Indiana's defense, super aggressive. They move a lot. The defensive ends are very aggressive. They play down, they get upfield, and with some of the quarterback run stuff that Notre Dame does, and then some of the just straight downhill runs where they attack it pretty quickly, I could see Indiana out of position. So I could see that one going either way. Don't think Curtis Rourke gets the credit that he deserves as how good of a college quarterback he is. And I do think Indiana's skill is much better than people imagine. But for me, it's Tennessee and Ohio State. I think Tennessee is a more physical football team. When you watch their offensive line operate, it might not be the cleanest in college football, but they get after you as much as any other group I've seen this year. They'll get some penalties. It might cost them at times, but they're a physical group. And I don't know any other group in college football that goes as deep and talented on the interior of their defensive line as Tennessee does. And then you throw in James Pierce and Bishop on the outside. They have edge guys that can play also. They rotate about 11 guys in on that defensive line. So I'm willing to see if Ohio State's offensive line with a new center and having to move some tackles around in the middle of the year, not really the same as they were physically at tight end last year, although I do think G. Scott does some good work for them. We know what those running backs are like, but Michigan gave them fits up front. I think Tennessee can replicate that. And if the weather's going to be what people say, it might not matter how good the Ohio State wide receivers are. So that one has the most intrigue for me because I think those are two teams talent-wise and scheme-wise that match up better with some of the other teams that people think maybe could win a national title.
Isn't part of the key also for Ohio State is Ryan Day? Look, he coaches tight against Michigan. And then after losing that game again, how do you not coach tight now against Tennessee in a playoff game?
For me, and this is opinion based on things I've heard and people I've spoken to, the reason I think he may not be tight and coach tight is he might be out of there anyway. I think there's a part of him that's over a lot of the peripheral BS, if you will, of what's going on with that job because he's been magnificent. He's done a great job. He has not defeated Michigan as many times as people would want, but he's been in position to win national championships. Now, he doesn't have one, but how many teams out there would have liked to at least just been in that spot a couple of times like he's been? He's in the college football playoff this year, and Ohio State fans are talking about running him. So I think they may open it up a little bit more, but once again, I think the weather might have something to do that. Here's the thing where you can say, and I agree with you. One thing that I didn't agree with, though, because the mindset, I have the advantage, usually working on Saturday nights, of I see what everyone says about games, and then I go watch them on Sunday, Monday. And my producer for our Monday night show on the SEC Network's a big Michigan fan. So we always talk Michigan almost every week, even though we don't use them on the show. And he was like, man, Ohio State tried to play Michigan's game. They tried to play Michigan's game. They couldn't do it. They were trying to prove a point. So when I go back and I watch it, I could see where people would think that. But the reality is when you get a 5 or 6 man box, you hand it off. That's the correct call. That's the correct move. So if we're playing chess, they're making the correct moves. And it just so happens that the person that they were playing against was a little bit better in the spots that they were attempting to attack. But the numbers told them to attack that way. So I don't think it was as stubborn of a plan against Michigan as a lot of people do, but they still got pushed around, and they still were not the more physical team. And I think that might be the part that most Ohio State fans are frustrated with. If you go back to the end of Urban Meyer's run, I mean, you had defensive linemen, second-team defensive linemen, tight ends, running backs, like third down backs that were just bruisers and just punched people in the face. They were just bullies. And there's not a lot of that on this team or the last couple teams, really and truly. So I think that's where a lot of the frustration comes from, but that's a lot of where football's going. So I think this might be it for him no matter what happens, and it might be on his accord.
Cole, your thoughts on Texas taking on Clemson and what ought to be a fun game down in Austin? And as an aside to that, were you more surprised by Oklahoma's struggles or Texas' ability to kind of run through their schedule in their first year together there in the SEC? What stood out to you more, Oklahoma struggling or Texas ascending?
It couldn't be Texas because, I had him in the Alamo Bowl, and I've known Sark for a while, and I've known Kyle Flood for a while, and so I've paid attention from a distance to that program. I also know Taylor Searles, whose father is the offensive line coach at Georgia. He's a recruiting coordinator. So I've had a lot of conversations with how they have been handling the preemptive strike of moving to the Southeastern Conference. And Sark's time in the SEC, I think, allowed him to understand these are the type of people and bodies we need to compete there. And then seeing them up close a couple of years, last year in the Sugar Bowl and the year before that in the Alamo Bowl, I knew what they were about physically. And that's where usually most teams are just not able to hang for a long period of time. The Oklahoma part, it would be Oklahoma, but it would be understandable. When you lose 4 or 5 receivers and you don't play the same offensive line the first 7-8 weeks of the season, and your starting 5 is different, every week of fall camp, and you're starting a younger quarterback on top of all that, you're going to have some problems. And the defense didn't struggle because the defense didn't have the injury issues, and they got some benefit of younger guys stepping up and making some plays. So it would still be Oklahoma, but it would be an understandable surprise when you look at the circumstances.
Speaking of that young quarterback, he's headed to Auburn. Your thoughts about the pickup of what Jackson Arnold can do and what Hugh Freeze can help him maybe take it to another level?
I was shocked that he didn't end up at Mississippi State because I've had conversations with Jeff Lebby about him, Jackson Arnold. And, Jeff has straight up told me he's the most talented guy he's ever worked with. Mm-hmm. And just felt like getting back to that system with that coach would have probably been what's best for him. But I don't know what's best for him. That was just my opinion. I do know Auburn upped the ante a little bit on the NIL, and that helped. But he's in a bad place right now. And if it's quick game, if it's ball in the mesh, pull it out, throw it right away, it looks pretty, and it's on time, and it's a good ball, and it's a spiral, and it's accurate, and he's got great wheels, and he's tough. I commend him for how he handled being benched this year because we had Oklahoma a couple of times, and that staff, Coach Venables and the staff raved about how he handled himself. You don't get that. There's multiple kids that have lost their job that said, screw it, I'm not even playing the rest of the year, I'm out. So I think he's a competitive kid, he's a gamer, but mentally, his eyes are in a really bad spot right now. Once he gets past the quick game, he's lost. And so he needs a reset, and he needs someone that can speak his language during that reset. Hopefully Hugh Freeze can do that. I do think part of what Coach Freeze can probably do is simplify some things and just have it be, hey, 1, 2, run. If it's not here, go here. And if it's not, tuck it and go. Because Coach Freeze is going to run some tempo, and a lot of his stuff is quick, easy reads. And so if they can maximize his potential inside of that, and he can see it and get it and understand it, he could have a big year. He's got a good set of receivers. They've upgraded at the tackle position. The kid they got from USC is a really good player. The kid from Virginia Tech has a chance to be a good player. He's long. He's physical. He plays hard. He's a little bit of a backbender. He's got to work on his lower body flexibility. But there's not many quarterbacks in the portal that are more talented than Jackson Arnold, that's for sure.
Cole, while we're on the subject of the transfer portal, Walker White of Auburn is in the portal. He's going to be visiting here at the end of the week. Any thoughts on him and just what you heard while he was at Auburn, and just thoughts on him now being a guy that's out there looking for a new home as well?
Things that I heard: big arm, major league arm, can make all the throws, but probably more important, great locker room guy. Supports everybody on the team, wants what's best for everybody else. Not a me guy, which for obviously you guys know like I do. For a quarterback, sometimes that's a little bit rare. Does everything the right way, wants to win, wants what's best for the team. But I do think, like, physically, he's got the tools to be a big-time quarterback. I think part of the problem this offseason was Hugh thought he needed another year to maybe sit and wait, and he didn't want to see other guys come in and do that. So he's going to take his talent somewhere else. But I haven't heard anything negative about him. And obviously he didn't get first, second team reps, but I do know that he was the guy that if everyone on the roster were to return, that was the one that Hugh was looking most forward to seeing working and improving and maybe being the guy down the road.
How important is it for Hugh to get Jackson Arnold, Ashton Daniels, Deuce Knight, like this quarterback room right? Because for the first 2 years, that's one thing he did well at his other stops was coach quarterbacks, but that's been that big black hole there now at Auburn for the 2 years he's been there.
It's critical. I think the Auburn fan base patience has essentially run out. I think that, and some of that has his own doing, talking about the roster and how hard the job is. I don't think fans really sympathize with that. You're making $6.5 million a year. Fans don't care how hard the job is. They know you have everything in front of you to be able to go out there and win. And I give the Auburn administration and collective and people behind the collective credit. They're stepping up this offseason again. So they're kind of doubling down on him, saying, listen, we're going to help you best we can, but you better get it right this time. If he gets Jackson Arnold right, they'll be a really good football team. Because like I said, they're going to have talent at running back. They're going to have a lot of talent at receiver. The offensive line should be upgraded a little bit. I don't know if the defense can match what they did last year, but not a lot of people paid attention to the numbers. That defense was really good. I mean, they were number one in the SEC in yards per game for a couple weeks towards the end of the season. So I don't know if DJ can get that group exactly back to where it was last year, but getting Amaris Williams announcing that he's going to come back, Keldrick Falk is going to be back on that defensive line. He had a big year. I think the linebacker numbers are still going to be solid. So if he gets quarterback to work, the schedule lines up really nice. I mean, for an SEC schedule, they're all tough, but for an SEC schedule, it lines up for them to put some wins together. And if he doesn't, then yeah, the seat's going to get hot pretty quick.
Cole, your thoughts about the Big 12 and how they finished with Arizona State red hot, with what Colorado did and BYU did, and Iowa State, of course, got blown out in the championship game, and how their first year with these new 4 teams went, in your opinion?
It was awesome. First off, it's just fun to watch. Just a fun brand of football. I've gotten to know Kalani Sitake, so I love watching BYU and how they operate and just who they are. Got to know Dave Aranda a little bit when he was at LSU. I'm a big fan of the Samurai. And then obviously what Coach Prime did at Colorado, he's been able to do what almost no one in the portal's been able to do. And everybody thinks it's just upgrading talent. Well, Florida State went and got talent last year after they went undefeated. That didn't work. A lot of teams have gone and gotten talent. He upped the ante on physicality in winning the line of scrimmage, and very few teams have been able to do that through the portal. He did that on both sides of the ball, and they won because of that. Travis Hunter was amazing. Shedeur Sanders, incredible. They went and got Will Shepherd from Vanderbilt. He was a great player, but they don't have the season they had without being a different team physically, and he made them that. That's the most impressive part, I think, of what he's done so far at Colorado, and he's done a lot of impressive things. And then what Kenny's doing at Arizona State is just, it's fun to watch, man, because it is literally, you know what they're going to do. I mean, they're going to run counter and power, gap scheme. They're going to pull guys around, and Scatterboo and those, they just don't care. And the thing that I love about Arizona State when I watch them is specifically in that run game, and the quarterback helps him out a lot too. He's crafty, man. Like he's a little bit of a playmaker. Doesn't have the skill set of a lot of other guys that you would reference that way, but he gets them out of jams. He makes some plays every now and then, but they make themselves right a lot. Somebody misses a block, or they miss a blitz, or they run the ball into an overloaded front. They have this knack of just being able to find a crease, find some space, and making each other right. They've been a blast to watch. And physically, they're going to be a handful for Texas or Clemson. I actually picked that upset. I think Texas gets past Clemson, and I picked Arizona State to win. I just think the time off and the different style of football in which they operate, not turning the ball over and just really getting after you. Now, they can't run with Texas. So if that becomes a perimeter game, they'd be in trouble. But we're going to get an upset somewhere. So that was the one I just decided to go with.
With Texas and Clemson this week, I don't think Phil Maffa is going to play for Clemson. And even if he did, he's going to be facing a defense that does not allow you to run with extreme prejudice. I mean, that is what they do very, very well. Can Clemson do what they did against SMU and get out early against Texas, or is that something that this defense is not going to let them do?
If they can force them into mistakes, they can, but I think that has to happen if they're going to do it. I had Texas Vanderbilt this year, and Vandy was able to jump out, and they made Texas make a few mistakes, and then Vanderbilt suffered from the problem that a lot of teams did play in Texas this year. They didn't tackle well. It's why Georgia's giving them fits. Georgia tackles in the open field. If you're going to beat Texas, you've got to get ball carriers to the ground in space. That's it. That is the most important facet of beating that football team. But I do think Clemson's active up front defensively. They could cause some problems there. That Texas offensive line has been hit and miss this year. I love Kelvin Banks. Love Jake. I love the guys at center, Jake Majors. But they've turned guys free on a fairly regular basis. Now, some of that has been teams knowing what pressure to bring against what protection. It hadn't necessarily been that group, but I think they can force them into some mistakes. It's just going to be, can Texas get out of those things that look like they might be something that would cause that? I think it's going to be tough. I do think Cade Klubnik's played better than people give him credit for. He hasn't turned the ball over near as much this year. He's taken care of the football. They'll challenge Texas down the field, which is where I think if you're going to get them, you kind of have to. But the problem with that is Now you got Bill Norton, Vernon Broughton, those guys in the middle that can stuff it up. I mean, go back and watch Georgia in the SEC championship game. They got nothing in the A-gaps. Zero. All the run game that they started getting going later was off tackle. Well, now you got Colin Simmons off tackle, Trey Moore off tackle, where if you get in third and longs, they put B.J. Hill out there. He'll rush you off the edge. You're not going to have time to be able to push the ball down the field because they can get home. It'll be a tough task, but I actually think it's more on the Clemson defense than it would be the Clemson offense if they win that game.
Cole, you're clearly somebody who loves college football. We all love college football. We talk about it every day. But there's a lot of disagreements on the state of it and a lot of hand-wringing over the portal and even the expanded playoff. Not everybody's on board with that. I was just curious, what's your anticipation, your excitement level for what we're about to see start unfolding this Friday?
It's up there, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure it's where I thought it was going to be,
okay.
and I don't know why that is. To just be perfectly frank with you guys, it could be that I'm not working this weekend, and that pisses me off. Okay. So it's plain and simple.
Hey.
I mean, I don't know another way to say it, and I'm just trying to be honest, but like I feel like I need to be – if there's games on, I feel like I need to be working them. So maybe I'm just feeling sorry for myself. But I do think some of the matchups are going to be great. I think seeing these games – in Columbus, in South Bend, in Happy Valley is going to be awesome. It's going to be so good. DKR is going to be loud. It's going to be fun. These environments are going to be exactly what we wanted. I think games like Tennessee, Ohio State, Indiana, Notre Dame are going to be fantastic. Some of the second-round games look like they could just be incredible. Whether it's Tennessee or Ohio State, that game against Oregon could be great. I think Notre Dame, Georgia, or Indiana, Georgia could end up being good, specifically with the quarterback situation at Georgia, what's going on. I don't know. I kind of expected myself to just be like on the edge of my seat nonstop leading up to this thing. And it's all right, cool. Like I'm ready for it. I'm going to watch it. I'm excited about it. But I think a lot of people are, maybe it's just people are still, I want to see how this operates first before I get all crazy, happy, excited.
Last thing, the picture or the jersey behind you on the wall that you have framed when you played at Auburn, how much fun would it be to block for someone like Cam Scatterboo?
Well, I had Rudy Johnson, so it wasn't too much. It wasn't too much further from that. I mean, I had Rudy Johnson and Heath Evans, which those guys made us right a lot. Now they didn't have like the WWE belts and all that other kind of stuff doing the interviews, so that might have been. I think we handled a lot of that stuff. So they didn't do the talking. Rudy was actually a really quiet guy, but I mean, he just seems like there are certain guys in college football that raise the level of play of their teammates. And it's not just because they're good, and it's not just because they make plays. I mean, Cam Newton was an incredible athlete and a great football player, but everybody else just played different around him. I think DJ Lagway at Florida is one of those guys right now. When he's been in and out, it's two different teams, and the defense is different when he's not playing. I think Scatterboo is one of those guys where it's just everybody else. The thing that we don't understand sometimes about certain guys in college football is there's certain guys that are liked and likable and lovable inside the locker room. Therefore, everyone wants to play hard for them. They want to help them succeed. They want to see them do well. And not that most guys are looking at their teammates saying, God, I hope he drops that pass, or I hope he fumbles on that, or I hope he throws a pick. It's not that. It's just other guys go way above and beyond that to where all of their teammates. I'm going to tell you who I think is one of those guys potentially is Gunnar Stockton, because I was on the field in Atlanta and everybody with me agreed that Georgia sideline was different when they found out he was coming in the game. And I've talked to some people on that staff, and I had one of his high school games, and the coaches raved about his competitiveness, his toughness, what a gamer he was, how much his teammates loved him, how much he loved his teammates. There are just certain guys that make everybody else play at a different level. I think Cam Scatterboo is one of those guys. It could be attitude. It could be just how much fun he has. It could be the fact that he loves contact. That'll get offensive linemen going. If I see my back turning, not going out of bounds and trying to knock a DB out, we're probably going to block for you a little bit longer. Like, we're going to bring a little something extra the next time around.
Cole, you mentioned DJ Lagway there. And again, I'm not wishing this on Graham Mertz or saying, but I could make the argument that Graham Mertz's injury saved Billy Napier's job.
Possibly.
I mean, that the basketball coach, but
I understand where you're going because, yeah, that probably helped a little bit too, some distractions. But I think also like Trayvon Baugh, freshman running back coming along, Caleb Banks at defensive tackle started to play out of his freaking mind the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season. The problem is, if you go look at Mertz's numbers when he got hurt, he led the SEC in like 5 categories at that time. He was super efficient. He didn't turn the ball over. So he was playing pretty good football. It's just so happened when they lost him, they lost their best receiver, and they lost a couple guys on defense, and all of a sudden they look like a totally different team. Montrell Johnson gets banged up. So I do think DJ was maybe a little bit more of a rallying call for a lot of the guys to say, hey, let's finish this strong. We got this kid in now. He can make us different. And he is. Like, he's a different player, man. Like, he can just do things that you're not supposed to be able to do with the football.
Cole, great stuff, man. We appreciate your time. Really do. Have a great
How big is
holiday.
this setup that you guys have here? Like, we need 3 cameras to go to different people on the set. Like, how far left and right are we going when we get these different camera angles?
About 10 feet.
Yeah. No.
You guys hate each other that much?
Shot, Garrett? Is there a wide shot?
Look at that. Man, everybody gets their own table. That's a setup right there.
We don't like each other. We do not like each other. Hey, man, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Anytime, guys.
Great podcast with Greg McElroy, obviously a part of SEC Network and ESPN, and the monster of WJOX in Birmingham. That's Cole Kublik, played at Auburn, and now a part. Love hearing him. You could tell, like you said, that he loves college football. Loves college football. When we come back, couple of other stories to get to. If you were the college football czar, what would 5 or 6 things you'd want to do? Mike Craven of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine lists some of those. Zach Gelb will join us too. And this is 365 Sports. Just got off a couple of text messages with the CEO and general manager, Ted Teague at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. The Wagoneer Series 3 and Grand Wagoneer Series 3 available. $15,000 off 3.9 or 3.9% financing for 72 months. $15,000 off MSRP or 3.9% financing for 72 months. Also, 0.9% for 72 months continues on the Ram, the 2024 Ram 1500. And I told you about that Black Widow Ram 1500 Crew Cab, the 2024 model, sold. Now they have the 2025 Black Widow Ram 1500 Crew Cab sitting on 37-inch wheels. And the 2024 Ram 3500 with 4-inch lift that Ted Teague says is absolutely gorgeous. Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. David Gray is the general sales manager, and he's the CEO and GM. Ted Teague is Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Get ready, Baylor fans. The ultimate game weekend experience awaits you at the Baylor Club. Kick off your weekend with our Friday Night Live pep rally. With live entertainment and special appearances from the Baylor Spirit Squad, it's the perfect way to start your game weekend with a roar. On Saturdays, don't miss our Knox Hall tailgate. Enjoy delicious food, ice-cold drinks, and great company as you gear up for the big game. And after the weekend's excitement, wrap it all up with our famous Bear brunches on Sundays. Don't wait. Make your game weekends legendary with a Baylor Club membership today.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
This is 365 Sports.
The Sikkim 365 app is brought to you by Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
I saw this last night with Mike Craven. He was, I asked him to come on the show, but he's in the middle of closing on a house. If I was the college football czar, 5 years to play 5, one free transfer. You could also transfer as a graduate or if the head coach leaves. Spring becomes OTAs. Portal opens in late April. You have 3 weeks of June practice. It was Chris Kleiman, I think, that brought that up to us at Big 12 Media Days. Leave signing days as it is for high school players. This takes the contracts, follow European soccer. Mike Craven, Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. 5 years to play 5. I've heard that before. Yeah, just give everybody 5 years. Red shirt, not up. You get 5 years to play 5. And then the free transfer, but also you get the transfer as a graduate if the head coach leaves. Not sure any of that will pass. Chris Kleiman did bring up that he thought that the summertime in June would be a great time to have what would not be called spring drills anymore, but that's when you have your drills that you would have normally maybe in February, March, or April, May. So there's Mike Craven.
Yeah, that's all well and great. A lot of people have put themselves in the shoes of being the commissioner and what their version of college football would look like and had fun with that. There's a big problem with it, though. What's that last line say again? This takes contracts. Follow Europeans. Oh, is that all it takes? Is that? Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, if that's all we got to do is just go get these guys under contract, that'll be simple. The one thing that the schools refuse to do, that would be the most responsible thing for everybody that would make all this real easy. Yeah, that's the problem. Is that's the one thing they absolutely refuse to do is make these guys full-time or gals full-time employees. So. Yeah, if you can get the whole contract situation sorted out, I'm sure we can get a lot of things done, whether it's Mike Craven or if it's whoever else you want to throw in the chair. But that's the big hiccup is there's that big if, and that's the if that will not go away right now. But meanwhile, there's a whole new can of worms for the NCAA in the last few minutes, whole brand new can of worms. Diego Pavia, as of now, has been granted another year of eligibility after going to court and saying that his JUCO years should not count for his eligibility and that they're basically handcuffing him from making what in his filing looks like $1 million+ that he stands to make by returning to Vanderbilt next year. The courts apparently have ruled that he is getting another season of eligibility. So that's unique in its own right. That's great for Vanderbilt. It's not really good for college football. So what does this mean for every guy who's played JUCO ball that's currently in college football?
They now get the opportunity to do the same thing.
Yeah, I guess so.
They do. If he wins, he's won that, so he gets an extra year of JUCO ball. There was a player that we mentioned yesterday or the day before that had been at Hutchinson Community College for 2 years. So does he get 1 or 2 years if he wanted to by playing junior college football?
Says a ruling from Judge William Campbell allows the Vanderbilt quarterback to return for another season. The NCAA will be able to challenge the court's injunction, but for now he's able to play next season. And we know the NCAA is so successful with their court issues. He filed it in November, arguing that because the governing body counts JUCO seasons towards eligibility, athletes cannot redshirt after they have played 4 years, and that violates antitrust law. And he argued that this forces athletes to miss out on NIL dollars, and said that in his documents he could earn more than $1 million in 2025 if allowed another season, and that apparently, according to On3 at least, he doesn't have plans to enter the portal. Like, yeah, I don't think that really is part of this, really. But regardless, he's going to look like get another year to play there at Vanderbilt. So if you're a JUCO guy that's currently in college, I guess you're all getting an extra year now. So the never-ending limitless years, unlimited years, I guess I'm trying to say, we just find a new chapter for it. Like the COVID guys are starting to finally roll off, right? And now let's get the JUCO guys with the years that don't actually count. So, yeah, that's a huge development for not only Vanderbilt and Diego Pavia, but also, I guess the SEC at large. And I know there's Hugh Freeze jokes probably all over Twitter right now as a result of this because he's got to potentially play Diego Pavia again. But that also seems like a whole can of worms that have just been opened because there's a lot of JUCO players out there that are suddenly going to be wanting another year.
Yeah, I'm all for, fixing all this, 5 years to play 5 years. But I mean, the JUCO thing to me should count. I don't know. And eventually, guys got to move on. And he's only really wants to play the one more year, I would think. But those JUCO years can be 2 years. So now are we going to go from 5 to 6? Like, I agree with Mike Craven. Let's just do 5 years to play 5 years.
Yeah.
That compromises, allowing guys to make money that wouldn't be able to make it in the NFL. Your Diego Pavias, guys like that. I like that. This needs to get to that point, but now we're talking about 6 years to play 6 years, right? If you're talking about JUCO, if JUCO doesn't count, that means those 2 years of school don't count. Those 2 years of you playing don't count, and then it's 4 years. Now, if you want to say if you're JUCO, you get an extra year instead of having 2, you have 3, then I'm fine with that. Like, that's a compromise because that's 5 to play 5. But if you're talking about 6 to play 6, I think that's too long.
Well, and then when they get through this junior college thing, which how long will that last? Forever? COVID, like you said, eventually faded out, and whatever else we had with red shirts or medical waivers, etc. But it's part of the deal. Pavia said, I want to play more, especially because of how much he's getting paid, and good for him.
Yeah, because he's not going to ever see a bigger paycheck. He's not going to make pro money. So
you would think not.
It's time to cash in.
I wanted to do one more thing, and then we go to Zach Gelb. The Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award finalists were released today, and look at this list. Cam Ward, Heisman finalist. Shedeur Sanders among the top 10 votes. Ashton Jeanty, the runner-up. Kevin Jennings and Bryson Daly among the top, I think he was 6, 7, or 8 among the vote getters for the Heisman Trophy. All of them have ties to Texas. All of them are the finalists for the Tyler Rose Award, the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award. Maybe the best FISM I can remember as far as finalists since that began back in, I think, 2013 or 14.
It's a good list. 4 of the 5 are from Texas, born here, played here. Ashton Jeanty moved in high school, but still graduated from a Texas high school, so that makes him eligible for the award. And Frisco is a big part of his story, and Lone Star High School is a big part of his story. So he's very much a Texan as much as a transplant can be and qualifies for it. But, yeah, you got Cam Ward, Shedeur, Kevin Jennings, and then Daly there, who are all, like a lot of cases, small-town Texas guys.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a pretty salty list. Daly, not the best timing after what happened with Army-Navy. Didn't have the best game there, obviously. But if you look beyond that one game on Saturday, he had an excellent year for the Black Knights, and I think he's certainly a deserving guy as well. But, yeah, that's a pretty salty group, and that's all about being from and having played in the state of Texas and designed on that. So, yeah, it's a pretty good crew that rivals the Heisman finalist in some ways from one state. Just to goes to show you the power of football here in the state of Texas.
Intern Jeremy is here. Also, Garrett Ross and Emery Winter.
Andrew.
Oh, Andrew.
God,
I forgot that. He graduated, right?
Well, he will be this weekend, but he's done with his
Good for
finals.
him, man. And Andrew, congratulations. He was hiding behind that screen, so I thought it was Jeremy. But it's Andrew. When we come back, we'll hear from Zach Gelb, and this is 365 Sports. I had to hit the cough thing because it was about to get bad. Ideal. MRI.com. Dr. Rob Maxey and his great staff inside the Central Texas Marketplace off I-35, southern part of Waco. $497 or less for you to get an MRI. If you have had something that's flared up or something that's been bothering you for quite some time and you're just tired of it, it's shutting you down, you can't function, it maybe even cost you sleep or you can't get things done. Dr. Rob Maxey and his partners developed Ideal MRI, state-of-the-art imaging machine, $497 or less, and they will help you file the insurance papers to maybe even get more off of that. It's an average is about $1,100, $1,200, $1,300 for an MRI. I paid one time, because I'm an idiot, up to $1,600 a few years back. If your doctor needs a better look, because the pain has gotten worse or it's just all of a sudden happened in your shoulder, your back, your knee, wherever it is. IdealMRI.com in the Central Texas Marketplace at $497 or less at IdealMRI.com.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
When you work with a bank, you should expect the best of everything. That includes face-to-face personal service and the kind of community banking care that only comes from one neighbor to another. That's exactly what you'll get from the First National Bank of Central Texas, where you will know your banker works just as hard as you do. Once again, that's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Settle for nothing less than the first. Member FDIC.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. This segment is brought to you by Bud Light. Enjoy the smooth, crisp taste of Bud Light beer. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy.
Infinity Sports Network national talk show host Zach Gelb joins us on 365 Sports. What is that background? Is that the sky? Oh, that's okay. The Statue of Liberty. I see that in the background. Is that a painting or what?
No, it's a background here. I'm in the Boomer Esiason and Greg Giannotti studio at WFAN and on CBS Sports Network, which is right down the hall from us. So this is just a room that I'm able to go into. So it's just it's like a hard poster, and then they had their Christmas lights up as well.
Oh, that's nice to be in the holiday spirit. Thank you very much. Zach, the college football playoff opening up on Friday, Notre Dame, Indiana. Which of the 4 games is the one you're more interested in, even though all 4 obviously have huge bearings on the next round?
Yeah, I think I'm most conflicted is the way I would say it on Clemson, Texas, actually, just because of Dabo Swinney, who I'm not a huge fan of, but I'm actually buying into him leading into this game. But the game I'm most fascinated by is Ohio State and Tennessee, with how Ohio State lost that game to Michigan. Tennessee's very similar to Michigan this year, except they just have a much better quarterback, even with Nico Iamaleava being extremely erratic at times. But with the way that Sampson runs the ball in that defense, that's a formula to really cause fits for Ryan Day and company. And I'm just wonder where Ohio State is going to be at mentally after losing to Michigan 3 weeks ago. So that's a game between Ohio State and Tennessee that I do believe will end up being the best game of the 4 out there.
Do you think that SMU can roll into Happy Valley and win that game?
I think they can. Am I going to pick them to do so? No, I will not. I talked to Kobe Wilson yesterday, the linebacker who actually he played his college career. He started off at Temple, and then the last 2 years he's been at SMU. But his confidence was awesome, and it gave me the feel that the moment was not going to be too big for them. I just think that it's weird because it's a college football playoff game, right? You say it's a big game, but it's not a big game where we view it as, okay, if James Franklin does this, the monkey's off his back, and now he's a big game winner. So there is a little skepticism there, but the fact that this is a medium-sized game, even though it is a college football playoff game in terms of the James Franklin scale, these are the types of games that James Franklin usually wins.
Zach, as a national radio guy, have you noticed any increase in interest from your audience based on the college football playoff and just some of the storylines going on, or have you found less interest in college football? Just curious, being a guy up in the Northeast where it's not like it is necessarily down here on a day-to-day basis, have you noticed any difference at all?
I think this has been the most intriguing college football season from a national level that we've seen in quite some time. Whether it's the Heisman Trophy, it being between a two-way star in Travis Hunter and then a great running back in Ashton Genty. Usually it's just quarterback. But my great fear of a 12-team playoff was it was going to be watered down, and the teams at the end we were going to be rewarding losing. Well, so many teams fell down this year and stubbed their toe that they had to stand back up, and it's been so fascinating and how this is going to shake out, and the matchups are pretty good for the most part in the 12-team playoff, and you also take it into account as well. Outside, like Oregon I think Oregon's going to win it all. But, you look around the rest of the country, there's just a lot of good teams. And Oregon, even though they don't have great individual stars, they've been the best team this year. So this 12-team playoff, it has worked this year. Everyone's excited for the matchups. And I do think because you also factor in the NFL, not having this clean product right now and this great product, people are always craving football, and college football has stepped up and hit a grand slam this year.
Yeah, the one concern is the fact that they may be playing while NFL games are playing and how much that might affect the ratings, which, of course, is about the revenue, although the revenue is committed to the playoff. Your thoughts on that?
You know what? I know it's funny because everyone's like, oh, we have this game going up against this game. I know it could impact ratings. Selfishly,
yeah, I know.
In my apartment, I have multiple TVs, so I'm not in the line of just because I got college on, I can't have NFL on. It doesn't impact me in terms of that.
Zach Gelb with us, Infinity Sports Network, with us on Wednesdays on 365 Sports.
How much Pepto-Bismol will Ryan Day have to take in preparation for this Tennessee game, seeing as how his fan base does not. They barely like him. They don't love him, that's for sure, especially not after 3 straight losses to Michigan.
How about the messaging from Ross Bjork and Ryan Day? All we heard all throughout the year, the game is what matters. Ryan Day said, and I know his father situation and how horrible that was, but outside of what happened with his dad, it was the lowest moment of his life in losing the last 3 years to Michigan. And now you made that a 4th one. So you say that leading up to the game, then you lose the game, and now you're trying to devalue the game. And it's asinine to me where people say, oh, just because Ohio State lost to Michigan, their season's a failure. They failed that moment. It's embarrassing. But if they go on and win the national championship, what are we going to say? The season wasn't a success? So I know they have to move on from that, but to send the messaging that even from the AD, that now we have to start devaluing the game and make it championship or bust. You can't say one thing for 364 days out of the year, and then when it doesn't go your way for one day, then your message all of a sudden changed just to justify your coach just being mentally soft up against Michigan, where Harbaugh's not even there, Stallions is not even there, but that third base comment still haunts Ryan Day, and he tried to win that game the way Michigan usually wins a game, which is big offensive line, run the ball, and he didn't use the star power that they have at the wide receiver position nearly enough in that one. It was an arrogance from Ryan Day. And Tennessee, like I said earlier, they play like Michigan, and they have a better quarterback, even though he's been erratic. So if Tennessee's consistent with the run with Sampson, which we know he's a heck of a running back, and their defense is phenomenal, they have more than a chance, obviously, to go into the horseshoe and pull off the upset.
Marcus Freeman's on a very cool seat. He's got an extension. Everything is good there and secure. Just has to avoid the blip in the non-con every once in a while, right? But how unique is this Indiana matchup, not only because of the Hoosier story, but then the regionality that we get a part of this? I was hoping we were kind of going to get this with SMU and Texas, but the seeding went the way that it did. But I find the regional appeal here to be something kind of interesting on top of this game.
Absolutely. And Cignetti, right, is a great salesman. So he's going to play into that, and his team's going to be ready to go, even though they did not play well in their biggest game of the season up against Ohio State. It's weird with Notre Dame because I've always said this about Notre Dame. Very good team, not a great team. In my lifetime, I never view them as a team that's going to go win a championship. I'm not saying they're going to win a championship this year. I think it's going to be Oregon. but I'm more optimistic and bullish on Notre Dame this year than I've been in years past. And I'm surprised that I am that way, especially with the performance back in week 2 up against Northern Illinois. I know they don't have like this great victory up against this great team since then, but Xavier Watts is a stud. He, one of the best defensive players, if not the best defensive player in the country. Jeremiah Love could be an early pick for the Heisman next year, and they have a great 1-2 punch at the running back position. And then Riley Leonard, who I never thought was great, let me be clear, but he's got better as the season has gone on. So I like what I'm seeing out of this Notre Dame team, and I do expect them to beat Indiana.
How do you see Clemson and Texas going?
In the beginning of the week, I was Texas. And I sit here on a Wednesday, and I'm vacillating.
Don't do it.
I'm not saying I'm picking Clemson. Let me be clear. But isn't it weird with Texas, right? They have such a good record. In their 2 biggest games of the season, they've lost to Georgia both times. And we see the record of Texas, and isn't there still that thought, maybe there's going to be a big Arch Manning package. Maybe we're going to see Arch Manning usurp Quinn Ewers. And I know in the first time they played Georgia, he got thrown in there for 2 drives, and that was it. Like, Quinn Ewers has been a very good college football quarterback, but he hasn't really taken over this season outside of earlier in the season for a long period of stretch where I'm like, that's the guy that's going to win Texas a national championship. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised that in the fourth quarter, this is going to be a game. I saw the spread was, I think, 12. I would plus the points right now as I sit here. I'm going to say that Texas just finds a way in the slightest margin of victory to get the job done. But I just don't feel confident about Texas this week.
They try to get on you pretty quickly, but if that game's lingering into the late third, fourth quarter, man, you wonder if they may not start playing a little uptight.
And you know what? Maybe it's a little because of what I just recently saw from Texas up against Georgia, and that's their kryptonite this year, like how Michigan has been the kryptonite from Ohio State. So maybe it's just too much over-analysis of what we've seen recently, but I'm surprised this week. Because layup, I love Sark, right? Pick Texas, see Dabo fail. Wonderful. I'm happy. I just have not been able to get there this week that I'm very confident in Texas.
You know what? He threw you for a loop when he went and got a transfer.
Yeah. I did see that on social media, and I go, what world are we living in? That is crazy.
Hey, I think it's just he had a window to show that it would work. And then even he's going to run out of players. And his coaches are probably like, please, just a couple, man. Just let me get a couple.
Well, and you look at the quarterback matchup. Like, Cade Klubnik and Quinn Ewers, I'm not confident in either. So that's where I'm really struggling on this one. And, Texas has the better team, so that's why I slightly lean by them. But I just feel like this is coming down to a field goal or a late touchdown drive.
That'll be interesting. Zach, we appreciate it. NFL, there's 3 games left, man. It's this stretch drive for them, too, about the time the college football playoff begins. Kansas City with Mahomes and the high ankle sprain, although you'll have to kill him for him not to play. Josh Allen, have you ever seen a quarterback on such a heater as he is right now?
I picked him to win the MVP in the offseason because I thought everyone was writing off Buffalo, and I still thought they were going to win the division and they were going to overachieve this year, and it was going to be set up for everything to go through Josh Allen. But what he's done the last 2 weeks, he slowed down last week, only had 4 total touchdowns from the 6 prior the week before. But my, oh my, he's really been something. But I think the best team in the league right now, and I would not have said this last week because I didn't like the locker room issues, but the locker room issues and how they played out publicly and then they responded with the win and the way that defense is playing, I think the Eagles are the best team in the NFL. Like, the Lions are banged up. Kansas City, I know they only have 1 loss in the season, but their offense hasn't looked right all year. Can Mahomes get it done in the postseason? Absolutely. Buffalo's really damn good, but their defense the last 2 weeks is not. I look at Philadelphia. Their offense is more than talented with Barkley, with Hurts, with A.J. Brown, with Devontae Smith, the offensive line, and on defense, man, Vic Fangio really has those boys rolling right now.
Paul, you want to ask him a baseball question before we let him go?
All right. Does Cody Bellinger make up for the loss of Juan Soto at all?
No, but did you see the marriage situation with Bellinger?
Oh, yeah, that's weird. Not if you had give me the roster, the 25-man, and said, what 2 guys do you not want your ex to have dated?
Don't go there.
It would have been Judge and Stanton. And
So for people that don't know, Giancarlo Stanton's ex-girlfriend, who's drop dead gorgeous, surprise, surprise, is married to Cody Bellinger. And I actually was at a Yankee game many years ago, and I was there with my buddy, and there's this unbelievably good-looking girl sitting in front of us with like a bunch of people around her. We're like, who the heck is this girl? And she was the seat in front of us. And then like the next day, we saw in the Post in New York, the big paper, that they either broke up or it was just that they were started to begin dating. And we were all like, oh, that's why that beautiful woman was there. It was because not only is she a big Yankee fan, but she's a big fan of Giancarlo Stanton, and now she's married to Cody Bellinger. So that'll be an interesting conversation in the dugout, I would say.
Do you think that came up at all when the Yankees were discussing that trade?
Probably not. People have exes, and right.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a messy like breakup or not. I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's interesting for what we do.
All right, Diego Pavia, did you hear about the ruling that came down?
No, I didn't yet.
Well, you were probably transitioning from what you do to what we're doing with you. He wanted an appeal for not counting his year in junior college, and he won. He now gets an extra year to play at Vanderbilt because the junior college year, according to the ruling, should not count against his eligibility.
Now, will he stay at Vanderbilt is the question.
He says
that's an NIL machine.
Yeah, no, I know. He's a multi-millionaire guy. I don't know, and you never know. That could change quickly, but he does get an extra year. Do you realize how many players at the FBS or FCS, whatever levels, have been to junior college? There's hundreds of them.
Yeah, and even we're starting to move past the COVID years, but some of those guys still had an extra year of eligibility from COVID. So the whole thing is like I talked to Dylan Gabriel at the Heisman, right? And I said to him, I go, people still doubt you. They just think you're a college quarterback. Tell me why a team should pick you number one, take you in the NFL draft. I didn't say number one overall. And he gave me a good pitch. And then, Fox, NFL, college football on Fox, they picked that up. And all the comments were like, yeah, this guy should be NFL ready. He's been in college football for like a decade already now. So it's kind of crazy, but the transfer portal stuff it's been fun. And I know that the Prabula situation at Penn State has brought heightened awareness to the timing of it. I don't really know what they could do just because it is a professional sport, but it still operates under the standard of college and academics. And it's easy for me to say, just move it back and don't have the transfer portal open up until after the national championship game. Well, the spring semester already started like a week or two before that. So I don't think there's a great resolution here.
I think I just found out that Alan Bowman and the tight end McCormick at Miami played 2 years of JUCO ball. No, I'm just kidding. Alan Bowman finally said, I'm done. He's done.
Well, what's going to happen with Cam Rising? That's my question.
Yeah,
too.
There we go.
He's like Perry Ellis.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Zach Gelb, Infinity Sports Network. Great to have you, as always. Happy holidays to you. Zach Gelb with us on Wednesdays in the 5 o'clock hour. When we come back, a couple of topics to get to before we get to Paul Catalina's top 5. Texas Tech released how they're going to distribute that revenue sharing. Also, an interesting addition to the upcoming FCS football playoffs. That and more. This is 365 Sports. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco, where right now pickleball is red hot. They took a couple of their tennis courts and converted them into pickleball courts, and they have tournaments, it seems like, almost every single week. And then those who play pickleball, they even have some mixers afterwards where everyone sits around and maybe has a glass of wine or just talk about everything else imaginable. They also have what you need when it comes to getting fit, to staying in shape. If you want to, with what they have, treadmills, Stairmaster, free weights, and all sorts of group exercise classes from spin to spinnerville to much more, including Pilates and, yes, yoga. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, great opportunity for a stuffing stocker for you and or a guest or someone you want to give it to, a free membership, Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why we take the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott in Conroe at 936-756-7717. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Pete Thamel had this story earlier. Your thoughts about this in the chat room, and we'll discuss it too. The Ivy League football teams are now going to be able to compete for the FCS championship in football starting with next year. They will now be able to play in the FCS postseason, and that I didn't even know that was on the radar, but that would make some sense. And now they start next year.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by this, and that's great news for the Ivy League and for the players that they can play in those. I mean, when you get to the Ivy League, playoffs, you're only talking about a few teams there. So expand out, and hopefully we get to see some good football over that. This is going to be tough. I mean, there's a lot of really good teams in the FCS that have been playing against each other for a long time, and the Ivy League not being in those playoffs should be an interesting little adjustment.
I mean, yeah, good for them. That's great. They had that opportunity, and that's cool. I mean, I watched 0 minutes of Ivy League football. I'll still probably watch 2 minutes now at this point, but I think that's great for them. That's good.
I would love to see Harvard take on Montana and see how that goes. I think.
I know that there are times like FCS teams can beat FBS teams. Non-P4 schools can beat teams that are P4. I don't know exactly. I know that times Ivy League's had a team or two that's pretty good, but I don't know about them wanting to bite that. It might be more than they can chew. I'm sure they discussed that because that FCS level is pretty good when it comes to football. So it'll be interesting to see who.
Well,
and will they get more than one seed if they're good enough? Maybe get a couple of teams into that field.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, look, they've been playing in the NCAA tournament and getting bounced except for one time against Baylor.
The what?
Yeah, the Ivy League and the NCAA tournament and the basketball tournament.
Oh, when Yale beat them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, they've done that. There's no way to grow yourself out unless you take these risks. So we'll see,
Yeah, I mean, good for them. Again, it's nice to have the opportunity to do that and try to expand and all of that. That's great. That's going to be great for some of those players to have opportunities that the guys before them didn't have.
All right, Texas Tech, they're on a great run when it comes to the portal. I think they even added another cornerback today is what they're doing. We've mentioned a lot of those who have transferred or at least announced they're going and even committed and signed to schools. And what Baylor's done the last couple of days has been fantastic too. Texas Tech, this is what they're going to do with their revenue sharing money. And over 90% of the $20.5 million will go to a football will go to the football program or men's basketball, the two biggest, without even an argument, the ones who make money. But here's how they plan on breaking it down. $20.5 million, that's the number you kind of hear. $15.1 million to football, $3.6 million to men's basketball. Women get just over $400,000, and softball, baseball will get just under $400,000, and the others will split up about $1 million.
Yeah, that's probably, a ballpark of what everybody's going to do around, about that. I mean, some people might have a little bit more, a little bit less, but they're going to try to push to the max of what they can do. But yeah, $15 million for the big dog. Yeah. $3.8 million for basketball, $400 for women's basketball, softball and baseball getting about $390K, and then everybody else splitting out $1 million. Look, it's more money than they had, and hopefully the money goes up for the athletes over the year. Hopefully the media contracts go up. Hopefully those things go up so that we can just stop having lawsuits, and maybe we collectively bargain. I don't know. It's just crazy idea about sharing revenue that it's good to have people negotiating for you that know what they're asking for.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the breakdown and kind of the disparities in the numbers here. And if there was ever any doubt before about who floats everything, let there be no doubt. I mean, $15 million compared to far less than that for all the other sports combined, and really only basketball making any sort of a dent whatsoever. Those two combined, I mean, it's like 3 times probably the rest of the sports all told together. So probably more than that, actually, more than 3 times that, more like 10 times that for just those 2 sports alone. So, yeah, it's interesting to see like the full-on breakdown and what most schools are probably going to follow in terms of their percentages and how they split it all up. And obviously there will be some differences here and there and some different levels of focus for certain sports, probably for certain institutions. But in general, this will probably be what it looks like. I think that that football number is just going to be very interesting to see kind of how that ebbs and flows over the years.
All right, so last night West Virginia lost to Memphis in a very entertaining game, 42-37. Big 12 won't have another bowl game. In fact, the Rate Bowl, which is coming up, that won't be until the day after Christmas. Craig, any other bowl games going on in college football tonight and in between the Big 12 games?
Yeah, there's a couple of games tonight, and there's a whole lot between now and the Big 12 games. Tonight you got a couple games, actually. Western Kentucky and James Madison starting up right now in the Boca Raton Bowl, and then later on tonight you'll have number 24 UNLV and Cal playing in the Art of Sport LA Bowl. So got a couple of matchups. JMU Western Kentucky ought to be a good little game. The Dukes 8-4 and Western Kentucky 8-5. So somebody's going to get win number 9 there. And then Cal's had a really good season. Barely made a bowl game, but made it nonetheless. And taking on a UNLV team that you wonder what they're going to look like post Barry Odom now that he's taken a new job, and they've started to kind of turn the page now into whatever this new era is going to look like. This will be kind of the final, I guess, transition period, and so very curious to see how the Rebs look in reaction to what's taken place the last few days.
Yeah, you want to know who's got more to overcome, UNLV sans Barry Odom or Cal minus Francisco Mendoza, their quarterback.
Yeah, good point.
Who's in the portal right now.
I was going to bring up what's worse, when you lose players or you lose the head coach.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
This is a nice little test group to show that with this game. I would lean towards UNLV because I think they're the more complete team anyway. Cal found really interesting ways to lose games this year. They were the only team in the FBS to lose to FSU this year, and that was just weird. But yeah,
those Seminoles rised up, didn't they?
Golly, just to knock down the hippies in the Calgorithm, I think was the only motivation that they had. But yeah, I like what UNLV has roster-wise going forward, at least for this game. So I would pick them over Cal. But man, this is just such a hard thing to do
Well, I mean, they're bowl games. Like, it doesn't, I mean, it's like we don't have to be right on these. I mean, they're bowl games.
I'm not going to
really
even
matter.
predict most of them unless it's the college football playoff.
I mean, the college football playoff games, but, like, as far as, like, breaking it down and all that, I mean, I mentioned Barry Odom's not even there. Brennan Marion's not there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brennan Marion's not there. So, I mean, UNLV, coaching-wise, is a shell of itself from what won 10 games this year. So, I think, like last night with West Virginia, it'll be interesting to just see guys play their final games, whether at that school or in college in general. And I think it's a fun thing to close out your season on a note. Like, if you're not in the playoff, your season ends tonight and whatever your bowl game is. And I do think that's kind of cool. You can ramp up towards that, and then you win or you lose, but it's not like the end of the world really either way. But I think it would be good morale boost for UNLV, given the coaching turnover, to go out there and get a win tonight. But there's an awful lot missing on their sidelines. And then you mentioned with Cal, there's a lot missing starting with their quarterback. So that's bowl season for you, especially in 2024. But I'm going to sit back like I did last night and not take it too serious and just enjoy what we do get that's worthwhile. And there was plenty out of last night that I enjoyed, that I saw, even stuff that was as simple as like an in-game interview with Rich Rod.
Yep.
That was worthwhile for the 5 minutes that I watched that game last night. So I'll have this on, and I don't care about making a prediction because of all the intangibles and wild cards in play, but I think it'll be fun to have some football on, and there will be plenty of guys out there playing hard regardless of the head coach, the quarterback, the OC, whoever that might be gone. And that's going to be the case for most of the bowl games that we watch. Is going to be some sort of transitional period that they're in, whether because of the portal or because of the coaching carousel. But that's also kind of what makes it fun and unique is all the wild cards that you do get from that.
I think betting on bowl games, I think you're either going to get that like 42-37, like James Madison, Western Kentucky, 7-7 early second quarter. I think you're either going to get a shootout like that, or you're going to get like a 16-4, 16-6 game. There'll be some teams that just don't have it. They just don't. There's not enough to go around. San Jose State wide receiver Nash led the country, receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns, and was a part of that Biletnikoff Award finalist list. Nick Nash is out of the Hawaii Bowl. He will not play in that game on Christmas Eve.
Yeah. Not surprising. He's going to get ready for the draft. He is a receptions machine. I'm very curious to see where he goes, what his future is in the NFL.
Yeah, that's a tough blow for them to miss out on having your best player for that final game. But again, that's just kind of what I was talking about. All these wild cards and things that you don't really have control over, and NFL draft declarations as much of taking part of your roster as the transfer portal can. So yeah, that's some serious firepower that they'll be without, and we'll be watching him on Sundays the next time we see him, I guess. But not a surprise. I think a lot of guys in that position would probably do the same thing, and I tip my cap to those who decide to play in the bowl game. But we've already seen a couple injury scares, and you go immediately like as Jaheim White last night for West Virginia gets hurt, and you're like, well, I mean, I ain't glad he played in the bowl game, but like I'm sure there's some part of somebody somewhere going like, that's exactly why you shouldn't play in a bowl game. Is that right there?
And there's a lot of look. Colorado says they're all going to be there, right? Mm-hmm. Cam Ward said he's going to be there for the game. So, and look, I'm thrilled that they are, but you wonder the closer you get to it.
Did anyone ever do that before Jalen Smith's injury?
No one did. No one did. And look, I get it. I don't want to tell people what to do. But I like a compromise. Like, how can we make this better for everybody involved so that the players that you want to see play and it's good for the teams and it's good TV, as opposed to I returned in a game last year and it was it was a Big 12 team playing in the game that I felt I knew pretty well. And then when they started talking about opt-outs, I was like, oh, well, I remember when these guys got signed and recruited, but I haven't seen them actually play. So this is going to be different. Do you
remember, and here we are, this is just reminiscing, that at one point Nebraska won, I think it was 6 or 7 bowl games in a row. Then Florida State and Bobby Bowden won a ton in a row. They would lose to Miami about every third year or every 2 out of every 3 years. But they went on a streak when they won a ton of bowl games in a row that I don't know if it's still the record or not. and it was something you look forward to. Those days are gone. I mean, everything in college
it is.
football,
I mean,
yeah.
everything's it changes. It does.
Mike from Ohio, think about this. With the players James Madison lost through the portal, they still have a chance if they win today to win 9 games this season. Remember when they beat Mac Brown into retirement in that game earlier this year?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Yeah, that's a good point about the portal and the guys that do stick around having something to play for. I do think that it gets taken way too for granted nowadays that winning 9 games is nothing or winning 10 games. Like, if you're an Ohio State fan, no, it doesn't mean anything. You do it all the time. But for a lot of other programs, it's a big-ass deal. Especially if you're doing it in face of adversity, like having half your team basically jump into the transfer portal. I know that's exaggerating a bit, but some schools are dealing with something similar to that in terms of, you listen to Jeff Traylor and what he's having to fend off with his roster. So I think for the guys that do stick around and stick it out, and especially if your coaching staff is going to have any continuity, that there is still some meaning in these bowl games. There's a lot of meaning for most schools because most schools aren't going to ever be in the playoff. And if they are, it's going to be very few and far between. But I know everybody wants to act like they're geared up and ready to compete for it every single year, but that's just really not the case outside of probably 10, 20 schools where they have the capability of being that ready at all times. So for a James Madison or any other school that's faced a particular storyline or a coaching change or whatever, there's a lot of good you can get out of winning a bowl game. Not going to put too much on it, but I think James Madison to this point that'd be a nice feel-good moment at the end of the year and heading the offseason with some positivity and nothing wrong with it not having to come with a national championship attached to it. I do feel it's kind of more of the all or nothing sort of mentality.
That was my biggest fear when some of this started to occur. I think that 10-2, you win a bowl game, or 11-2, and even if you're in a mid-level bowl game, you should be able to enjoy that, and you almost wonder if it get lost.
I don't think for JMU it will. Again, to that point, I don't think I don't want to always use, but like Baylor, I mean, if they win 9 games, that's a big-ass deal, man. It's a big-ass deal. They go beat LSU, that's a big-ass deal. I don't care how many Tigers are sitting out for the NFL draft or for the transfer portal or whatever. I don't care. I know what the record book's going to say after that. So they go 9-4, they beat LSU, win a bowl game. No, that's not the playoff, but I'll tell you what, that's going to mean a whole heck of a lot around here, and it's going to lead to a lot of momentum in the offseason, and they're just one of 70 examples or however many bowl games there are, but you know what I mean. They're just one of multiple examples.
Speaking of from recent,
like 30 of them or
from recent experience, those people that hate your team will not remember how many people opted out of a bowl game.
No,
they will remember the
not.
score, and they will throw it back in your face every chance they get. So again,
you're clearly talking about the Alabama-Oklahoma Sugar Bowl from a few years ago and not anything more recent, right?
Yeah, but look, for Baylor, that team sucked out loud last year. They raised suckage to an art form, and this year, towards the end of the year, they kicked ass.
They were in the suckage factor, but they got a new plumber.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden, all the pipes started. That's really remarkable.
Some of the Big 12 teams are lucky that they had the Hail Mary situation at Colorado that went against them. And I think in some ways they were lucky because it, if anything, rallied them around. But, I mean, Texas Tech winning 9 games, that's a big deal for Joey McGuire. He needs to kind of do that, actually. And so that would be a big deal. Now, does, Michigan fan care about that? No, but that's not the point. Like, the point is that, these bowl games, a lot of it's meaningless, a lot of it's tourism, and a lot of it's TV money and stuff like that. But there is a lot of good that you can get out of it as a non-playoff team, depending on your situation.
You know the last time the Tech won 9 games or more?
It's been forever.
The 2009 team, coming off that incredible team when they had Harrell and Crabtree and whatever, they were 9-4 after the 11-2. They went 9. They had a run there. With Mike Leach, of course, they had a nice run. But last time they won 9 games in a season was in 2009. Look at the Big 12. Arizona State's 11-2. They could end up 14-2. I don't know. But teams that have a chance to get – Colorado can win 10 if they beat BYU. Baylor, Tech, TCU, and K-State can get the 9, which should never be sneezed at. West Virginia finished under 500, and everybody else is done. So
that's one part that sucks when you go to a bowl game and you're 6-6 and you don't win. You're
like
6-7.
Baylor did in
that leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
22, yeah. When they lost to Air Force.
Who?
When Baylor lost to Air Force.
Yeah, I mean, so that's another example. But, West Virginia last night, you lose that game. Just in general, 6-6 teams, that's the part about going to a bowl game is like, damn, you don't win it, and 6-7 does feel awfully different than 7-6.
It's a losing season. It's like what Jeff Traylor at UTSA have battled back to get to a bowl game. They don't win their bowl game. They go 6-7. It's technically it's a losing season, which 6-7, 7-6, but still it goes down as a losing season. Paul Catalina and also the top 5 around the corner from UW fan Jim. Are more players or less players opting out of bowl games this season?
I don't think so.
I don't have a number in front of me. Max Olson might know that. We have him on tomorrow at 4. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think Max can probably answer that because I don't know of any tallies. I would think that it'd be less just because you've got 8 more teams in the playoff that have reasons to stick around that might not otherwise. So having those teams knowing that they got a chance to play for a national title, I would think that there's 8 programs alone that are probably going to average less departures. So that would, to me, just take a hit on the total number overall. But, I mean, I don't know what that number looks like compared to last year, but Max, I'm sure, would have a pretty good idea on that.
I bet he would. He's got some of those stats you guys talked about on Monday, how many are multiple transfers, which is a high number. It's just a very high number. All right, when we come back, Paul Catalina is top 5. One of the note from Mike, who's in Ohio, who's given us some nuggets. Youngstown State, which had that great run with what they did. James Madison ended their streak with a win against them in the national championship back in 2016. James Madison, I like the way they play. That's not a team a lot of teams in the FBS want to schedule, period. They don't want to. That's a dangerous team to put on your schedule. Tied right now with Western Kentucky. That game is at 7 apiece in the second quarter there. Do you guys want to know who the most valuable sports teams are and who are the top 5 in the world?
I know the Cowboys. I'm going to guess the Cowboys.
I printed this out several days ago. Yeah, Cowboys are now over $10 billion.
All right, hold on. The more thing I want to talk about is you printed that out. How many pages is it?
No.
How many pages?
I sent this to FedEx.
How many? Yeah. How many pages is that?
You don't want to know.
That's like half of a ream of paper.
Yeah, but it's my paper. It's my
I
printer.
know,
It's
but
my ink.
You could just open up a tab.
I think, let me see, 28 pages.
Oh, dear God.
For 28 seconds of content.
I've had this.
It's going to take
longer. I think I've had this since Friday.
It took longer to print that than it will for you to give us the fact.
Golden State Warriors are 2 at $8.8 billion. The Los Angeles Rams, and you know what? When you see these teams, they got new arenas or new stadiums at 3. Yankees are 4 at $7.55 billion, and the Knicks at $7.5 billion.
Those are just in the U.S., right?
Yes.
That's not like
no, it's not like Man U.
Liverpool.
Well, no. It does include European soccer teams. Real Madrid is 12. Manchester United is 14, so it does include the European soccer franchises. But a lot of those are brand new stadiums, of course, and Jerry at $10.1 billion and laughing to the bank. Hey, they're playing better.
I mean, yeah, he's really laughing all right.
They beat the Panthers. They beat you know who else beats the Panthers? Everyone.
Yeah.
Garrett, it's like NBA players bragging about banging Kardashians.
Have you watched the Cowboys at all?
No, I've watched probably like 5 minutes of the NFL all year.
Wow.
I hate the NFL.
Even with the Commanders being...
I hate the NFL.
Yeah, okay. All right. Craig, have you watched them at all lately?
Yeah, I've watched the Cowboys.
Rico Dowdle is on like 3 consecutive 100-yard games. He's carrying the ball 20, 25 times a game. And there is a debate within the Cowboys hierarchy about what are they going to do. And does he give Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, and your team, Cowboys, a way to flip the finger at everybody because they didn't go get Derrick Henry and company?
No, he doesn't. He's Tashard Choice, and they made that mistake before, and they'll probably make it again. If they sign him to a long-term contract, they're going to be just stuck in the cycle. It's no knock to Rico Dowdle.
He runs violently.
Good for him.
All right.
He's not Ashton Genty. He's not Omarion Hampton. He's not a young guy who they need to draft. He's not Taj Brooks. He's not Ken Scadaboo. He's not any of those guys. Go get one of those guys.
Well, you can get one of those guys.
Go get 2 of them, actually.
When they end up just out of the playoffs and picking like 15th. When we come back, Paul Catalina add his top 5.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, they are the people that you can count on for all of your automotive needs, and that includes going to get into a brand new vehicle, getting into a pre-owned vehicle, or just getting your vehicle worked on. They can take care of all of those things, and as you get ready to hit the roadways to go travel for Christmas perhaps or the New Year's holidays, you definitely want to have peace of mind and feel like you're in something sturdy and safe as you're with your family or maybe going solo, whatever your situation may be. But a good way to feel comfortable in your ride, if you don't currently, is to take advantage of all the vehicles being offered right now over at Richard Carr and take advantage of their biggest pre-owned sale all year long going on right now. It's the pre-owned green tag savings event at Richard Carr, and they have too many used cars and trucks on the lot, so they need you to help them out and come get some of these vehicles and take advantage of these great deals, as every one of them are green tag priced with big savings. Save green at their expense during the holiday season. If you're looking for a new Buick, GMC, Cadillac, they've got the big end-of-year savings going on now during the holiday savings event. All 2024 cars and trucks are priced to sell. And for example, you can save $8,000 right now on a 2024 GMC Sierra SLT truck in stock. They've got AT4X Sierras and four-wheel drive versions with even bigger savings. And if you're a Costco member, you can also save an additional $1,000 as well. So a unique little addition to knocking some more money off the price tag if you happen to also be a Costco member. So that's the GMC Sierra SLT trucks. Nearly $10,000 off in savings can be had right now during the green tag savings event. So go over there and take advantage of it right now, because it's the most wonderful time of year to save on a new car or truck with the big end-of-year savings going on right now at Richard Carr. Go see them off Highway 6, the Imperial exit, or check them out at richardcarr.com.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Oh, man, this is the best.
Yeah, too bad we have to go to work tomorrow.
What? Why?
You know, Monday.
Where's my report? You millennials are all the same.
You okay, Dexter?
What happened?
You need Sunday scaries.
Screw you, Monday! Woo! Yes!
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable. so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
There are hundreds of things that can affect our sleep, but what's affecting yours? Sleep Doctor's Home Sleep Test brings the precision of a sleep lab into the comfort of home to help you get answers and unlock a lifetime of great sleep. Start now at sleepdoctor.com/TV.
It's time for Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Texas Beef House. Where's the best beef in Texas? Your house when you order from Texas Beef House. Unleash the flavor of Texas raised Wagyu. From our pasture to your plate, TexasBeefHouse.com.
Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5 as we wind down 2024. You've got this one and two more after this, and then no more until 2025, at which point, will the Earth even exist? I don't know. I hope it does so I can keep doing this. But we're, of course, brought to you by Texas Beef House. Go to beefhouse.com. Use our promo code 365sports. This is our college football naughty list this year. People are getting lumps of coal. Number 5, 2-10 Florida State. Legendary quarterback and all-time good guy, Jameis Winston. Don't fact check me on that. But people seem to like him now. He's very funny. Squinting and looking, this is not acceptable. 2-10, lump of coal for you, FSU. You went from the penthouse to below the outhouse. Like the outhouse, you're at least above ground. Somehow this year was worse than being in the outhouse. It was under the outhouse. That's how bad it was. I'm squatting down to show you how low it got. I want you to know this. You've hurt me. Lump of coal for FSU at 2-10. Hopefully, the hiring of Gus Malzahn, and Tony White, Terrence Knighton, Evan Cooper on the staff helps you build talent that will get you back to relevance again. But a worse year you could not have had. First of all, I understand. The CFP screwed us all. But you were suing the conference in something that's going to go on forever. And then saying, hey, listen, you get great television ratings. You won't when you're 2-10. That's for sure. So, for our sake, let's be better. Let's be better. Number 4, Greg Sankey, lump of coal. And look, you got 3 playoff teams. The fact that you were mad about only getting 3 shows how greedy you are, Greg. Bottom line is, parity comes for everyone, even the SEC. And the faster you realize that and quit complaining about your lot in life, seeing as it's pretty good, the quicker you are to maybe get 4 teams in the playoff. Maybe schedule 9 conference games. Maybe tell everybody else to schedule 8. But stop pretending like the world is against you. That's why you have a lump of coal. And Craig gets mad when we harp on the SEC, so I'm going to keep this one short. But lump of coal for you, Greg Sankey. Your unabashed work for the SEC has put all of college football at risk. It's not good. That's why you get a lump of coal. Number 3, Hugh Freeze, lump of coal. Why Hugh Freeze? Well, you claim to be a quarterback guru. Now, look, I know you've went and got Jackson Arnold and Ashton Daniels, and you got Eric Singleton today to pair with Cam Coleman, and you're improving that offense that for 2 years as an offensive guru has failed to get you anywhere. But you came in with a lot of bravado at Auburn, and so far haven't backed it up. As a matter of fact, you did not address your quarterback situation, and it really cost you this year. We'll see if you can get something out of Jackson Arnold, who struggled mightily at Oklahoma this year. Maybe not all of his own doing, but you and he have a co-reclamation project together, and it's more on you than it's on him, buddy. Number 2, Matthew Sluka. Lump of coal for you and your family, buddy. Whatever deals you thought you made with the UNLV collective, get it all in writing. And quitting on your team in the middle of the season, not good. And good on UNLV for bouncing back with a quarterback who played unbelievable all year long and was probably the better player all along. Best of luck in future endeavors, Matthew Sluka. I hope it winds up good for you. I have no ill will towards you, but this kind of behavior gets you on the naughty list. That's why you get a lump of coal. And number one, the NCAA. Your years of screwing athletes on name, image, and likeness could have been solved by simply just cutting them in 20 years ago, giving them a couple grand a month. None of this would have happened. Now, you are going to be out millions, billions of dollars because you tried to screw with people's fundamental rights as Americans. And that never ends well for anybody, ever. So this is why. You don't only get like lumps of coal, you get like a billion lumps of coal. You're paying out money over time again and again and again. $725 million in lawyers' fees alone because you were too obstinate to see what was obviously right in front of you. Shame on you, NCAA. Shame on you. But maybe this is the start of something new and we can move forward without remembering how terrible you were at doing everything that you did. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Well, you're the Grinch.
Oh, wait till tomorrow's the nice list.
Oh, okay. All
yeah,
right.
tomorrow's nice list.
All right. Good to see you getting closer to Christmas spirit. I hope you are. Garrett, great job today weaving in through, my God, all the things that are going on with the stories, topics, tweets, etc. Intern Andrew. Emery Winters dialing up 365 Sports tonight at 10:30 on the CW. Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina. We appreciate all of our sponsors every day that allow us to do what we do, and you, the audience that watches, listens to us in the various ways that you do. I'm David Smoak. Thank you again for your time, and good night on 365 Sports.